Text lines, are you one of the tens of thousands of furloughed federal workers in Massachusetts or deemed essential and working without pay? Are you affected by the shutdown? Where do you see this ending? And are the Democrats reclaiming some past glory by sticking to their guns on something, or will they ultimately fold again? Call or text.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then as President Trump begins to literally demolish part of the White House to build a gilded $250 million ballroom, we'll get the latest from CNN's John King, plus his insights on the shutdown, the Supreme Court, and more. It's all ahead, 11 o'clock hour of BPR and GBH and NEPM.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Vice President Vance is in Israel today to support the U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Two of President Trump's special envoys arrived earlier for talks. The vice president will hold a news conference shortly in Israel. Meanwhile, Palestinian health officials in Gaza say Israeli airstrikes on Sunday killed nearly 50 people. This happened after Israel said Palestinian militants killed two of its soldiers. NPR's Anas Baba reports from Gaza City. Many Palestinians are uncertain whether the ceasefire will last.
Gaza's health ministry says that since the ceasefire began a little more than a week ago, more than 80 Palestinians have been killed and more than 300 injured by Israeli fire, including those from Sunday's airstrikes. Ahmed Kassab, a carpenter in Gaza who once worked in Israel, says he expected this violence. He says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is looking for any reason to restart the war and appease his far-right ministers. He says we have suffered for 2 years and died in every way imaginable and unimaginable. But Kassab also sees signs that President Trump is applying pressure to keep the ceasefire agreement holding. Anas Baba, NPR News, Gaza City.
Florida is making some vaccines optional for children, and some teachers have concerns. From member station WUSF, Carrie Sheridan has more.
Mary Holmes is a public school teacher in Sarasota County, where vaccination rates for kids are below 80%. Her students have disabilities. Many have weakened immune systems, and it's not just them.
We have a lot of teachers and staff members with cancer that people have no idea about.
She says parents should be able to choose whether to vaccinate their kids, but not if they send them to public school, where they put others at risk.
If a parent feels that strongly, I think they should go with their gut and then homeschool them. I don't think you can have both.
By December, Florida will no longer require shots against 4 diseases, including hepatitis B and chickenpox. For NPR News, I'm Carrie Sheridan in Sarasota.
An increasing number of adults say religion is gaining influence in American life. NPR's Jason DeRose reports on a new study.
Between February of last year and February of this year, Pew found a sharp increase in those who say religion is becoming more influential, up from just 18% to now 31%. Overall, nearly 6 in 10 surveyed express a positive view of religion's effects. That's also up significantly in recent years. Meanwhile, nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults say they feel at least some conflict with American culture because of their religious beliefs. Pew also found that just over a quarter of people say only one religion is true, while nearly half say many religions may be true. Jason DeRose, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Okay, it's our 5th day of our pledge break. The number to give, if you are so inclined, is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. I've been saying all week, but just in case you don't know, one of the reasons this pledge is more important is because the government has taken away funding for all public radio and public television. So that leaves us entirely dependent on the generosity of listeners like you guys to keep this operation going 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Listen to this. I always talk about, where you can get really good news and reliable news. Well, you can get it really from the New York Times. And that is our thank you gift today. For $10 a month, you'll get an online annual subscription of the Times. It's a news subscription. All access to content, breaking news, you can get in your phone reviews, opinion blogs, and videos. It's not the games, the Wordle, and the cooking, but it is all the breaking news, and you can get it anywhere obviously on your computer, but also on your phone. Which I think, if you like to keep up with the news, you get alerts all the time on your phone. You know what's going on. I think they are a great newspaper. They did a lousy job in the protests over the weekend. They should have made a bigger deal out about those. But generally speaking, what they are is fact-based, which really matters. It's $10 a month, or give us $120 all at once. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
I'm fine, by the way. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it.
We're starting
it's
now.
It's not over,
Would you
actually.
like to
The
say
music
something?
starts.
Want to say something?
Yeah, you still don't understand how this works, but it's okay. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. What Marjorie said, I'm in agreement with almost all of it.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have time to tell you what I disagree with, but the vast majority, I'm with her. Make a gift if you can. Thank you.
Here's Jim Brady. I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're not at the library today. However, finally, we're going to be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow with Harvard National Security expert Juliette Kayyem, Sports Authority Trenni Case, and naturalist Sy Montgomery. And on Friday, we'll be joined at the library by Mayor Michelle Wu of Boston. I think it's from 12 to 1.
It is 12 to 1. And by the way, you should clear, we kept saying it was going to be next Tuesday. It's been moved up. It is this Friday.
Yeah, it's going to be this Friday from 12 to 1 at the library. Mm-hmm. We're back in the saddle.
Exactly.
Such as it is.
Hi, Jim. How are you? I'm fine. How are you, Marjorie?
Good.
So we're starting today with open phone and text lines, checking in on the government shutdown. In Trump's first term, I'm sure you all know this now, the government partially shut down for 35 days. That was the longest ever. Today, with no end in sight, the current shutdown enters its 21st day, the second longest ever with no end in sight. We'll talk to John King in a little bit. He'll let us know if there is an end in sight. And we can't help but feel like nobody really seems to be paying much attention to this, it seems to us. Is that the Bannon-Trump flood the zone strategy at work? There's so much else going on at the same time that deserves our attention. There are tens of thousands of federal workers affected here in Massachusetts alone, an estimated 250,000 people furloughed across the country or being forced to work as essential workers without getting paid. Can you imagine that, being in that situation?
No.
By the way, are you among them?
No.
We've already heard concerns about food assistance if the shutdown lasts much longer. Still, the Democrats so far are holding the line, and the majority of Americans are not buying the Republicans' line that it's all the Democrats' fault. What do you make of it? Are you applauding the Democrats' newly discovered spine, or do you want it to be over already? It's a government shutdown sort of potpourri on day 21, 877-301-8970. So the Democrats have held the line on an issue that seems to matter a huge amount to people, and a lot of people are going to be getting notices, a week and a half from now, saying exactly how much their Obamacare premiums are going to go up, and that's going to affect millions of people.
Yeah, this is a very scary time if you are a federal government worker. Needless to say, hundreds of thousands have already been furloughed. The administration has fired several more. Did you read where on Monday, most specialists who oversee the U.S. nuclear stockpile, the National Nuclear Security Administration, got furlough notices? I think those are some people that we kind of want to keep there on the job, not to mention the air traffic controllers that you mentioned before. There's already staffing shortages with them. So but you don't
Secretary of War, I'm told, in his lunch hour is checking out the nuclear, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have any real worry about it.
Well, the thing is, Trump has said he's going to pay the military, but there's no evidence he's gotten.
Hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. Yeah. And some of the people in Congress are saying that it's illegal the way he's planning on paying the military. They have some way you're supposed to do it, and he, of course, is not following that. He's planning some illegal way to pay them, but there's so many illegalities going on, I suppose. Why should we even worry about
Well,
one
especially,
more?
we're going to talk to John about this too. The 2-1 appellate court decision saying he could send those troops into Portland, Oregon. I don't know if you read the decision. I made the mistake of reading the decision.
Yeah, you told me about
the two
it.
Trump judges. There's 2 Trump judges, 1 Clinton judge. The 2 Trump judges ruled for him on the appellate court, basically saying, okay, despite what he says in his social media, which is total BS, he has a, quote, colorable, that's the best they can come up with, argument. It's essentially saying we will stand back and let this president do whatever the hell he wants. The number is 877-301-8970. And I'm hoping that Marjorie and I share this view, and I hope you think we're wrong. I don't get the sense that the average person who is either not a federal worker, or in a federal worker family is really upset about this. I think you should be. Not only because your government you're paying for is shut down, and it's going to get worse over time, the economic impact there too. And a lot of people who spent their lives serving you and us are going without pay. And, I know that there's actually legislation in this effect, they get paid back. By the way, the contractors, and there are tons of federal contractors, do not get paid back. The federal employees get paid back. But look at your own situation. If you didn't get paid for, what is it now, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And with a promise, don't worry, we'll pay you back as soon as this thing is over, especially when you don't know when it's going to be over. It's not exactly an easy ride.
Well, we have a text from a furloughed government employee. He says what many overlook is the stress this causes, and not just
That's
about
a great point.
the money, but thinking as well about the backlog of work we will have when we do return. We're already low on staff because of DOGE. I just applied for unemployment insurance and wrote my reps to end the strike. Let the GOP take a victory rather than give them by keeping the ACA protected. Let the rates increase and use it in the midterms. That's one of the questions.
That's sort of what Chuck Todd was saying.
That's sort of what Chuck Todd said.
He didn't say wait for the midterms. He said this should have happened a month or so later at the end of November when the notices actually had gone out. In fact,
I think they're going out at the beginning of November.
They are. Here is actually what Chuck told us. What day is today? Was it last Thursday when we talked to him? Making the case that Democrats would benefit from doing what it takes to end the shutdown, even if they, listen to him.
They've got them nervous about this. So I would figure out a way to declare victory, because I think the longer this goes on, the less likely this stays politically I think it's narrowly advantageous. I just don't think this is a capitulation. Not when it's a 6-week, you're just opening up the government to mid-November. You've got another chance to sort of have leverage here.
Neither of us agree with Chuck, and even though his political judgment is generally better than ours, I have to admit, I particularly disagree with him. That conversation was before the No Kings rally. How do the Democrats find a way to declare victory while giving up their cause, particularly after whatever number of millions of people took to the streets on Saturday? I think they have to stay the course here. I don't know what the end game is going to be, but I think they have no choice.
Well, I think a lot of people think that Trump is going to be the end game.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that he seems to be under some confusion about what the cutbacks are going to be in Medicaid, and there are some in Medicare too. Certain programs in Medicare, and so that he may come in and say, we got to shut this down. People are going to find out about the Obamacare increases on November 1st. You said some states already have.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
So I think they got to wait at least until then, it seems to me, to have the impact of this come through. But the argument
when you say
this
at least
gentleman...
till then, explain to me, make up any scenario you want where the Democrats drop their demands. What do they say? Donald Trump has promised us that he'll extend the premiums, so we accept his word?
Well,
what do they say?
There's a hope, and maybe this is ridiculous, that when the people that get the Obamacare health insurance increases, many of whom are in red states, many of whom voted for Donald Trump, they're going to get upset about it.
That the Republicans are.
Yes, and they're going to put some pressure on their Republican senators.
That he or she has the courage to stand up to Trump on even the most minor thing.
Lisa Murkowski does it from time to time.
Right, good. Lisa Murkowski does, and Susan Collins less frequently.
Tiny bit.
Yeah. All you have to do is watch Mike Johnson. If you really want fun out there, when I mean fun, I mean total masochism. Watch a couple of clips every day from Mike Johnson. The fact that any grown-up could embarrass himself like he has out of loyalty and fear of another human being, this being Donald Trump, is just incredible to me. Bernadette, you're in a truck. You're first on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Love your show, and I'm a subscriber and all that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So if the Democrats end up not, if the Democrats cave, I will never be a Democrat again. I will become an independent, and I will hate them forever. So
wow.
I'm proud of the Democrats. Sorry, but I'm tired of this. I'm proud of the Democrats for having a spine, and I hope they keep it up. The Republicans have to feel the pain that the Democrats are feeling in order for this to hopefully come to an end next year when we get to vote, please God.
Yeah, but can I tell you something, Bernadette? I hate to quote Marjorie on this thing that she says every single day.
What is that I say?
Donald Trump is a far more effective spokesperson for his cause than Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are. So I'm not sure that... I mean, I can see Trump at the end of this thing, if he capitulates, saying, all along, I'm the one who's been saying we had to do something about these healthcare premiums. The Democrats stood in the way, and people are going to nod their heads and go, yeah, that's really... So in theory, I agree with you, but theory doesn't apply so much when Donald Trump is... in charge.
Well, you know, it's so funny, but why don't we even bring it up? Because it doesn't seem to matter to people.
Thanks for the call. We really appreciate it.
But how many times did Trump try to get Obamacare nixed in his first term?
Wasn't
like 67
or
times or something like that. And he's going to, repeal and replace, repeal and replace, repeal and replace. Now he's turned around. I guess he thinks that the Affordable Care Act is okay. He's changed his mind on that, but he still talks about replacing it with something better.
One of the most dramatic moments, I have to say, that I've seen in political moments when it was unclear if that one repeal vote was going to work, and the critical vote was John McCain.
It was great.
And he walked onto the floor of the Senate, and apparently most of his fellow senators didn't know how he was going to vote, and he just does a thumbs down. It's chilling even right now.
It was great.
It was incredible.
God, those are the days when you had people like John McCain in the Republican Party. By the way, a lot of people are texting about, here's one, government is shut down, so let's renovate the White House. 9 words I never thought I'd text. And it is true. You may know that the president decided in the middle of this government shutdown, he's going overseas in the middle of this government shutdown. I think he's meeting with the GOP today at the paved-over Rose Garden.
Yeah.
But he's going overseas when the government is shut down. But he is putting in this big 650-person ballroom, a billionaire ballroom, people are calling it, double the footprint of the whole building there. He said it wasn't going to have any effect on the building. It wasn't going to touch the building. In fact, they've torn down the East Wing. That's where the First Lady usually has her offices, but I guess you don't have to worry because she's never there.
You're not going to see that again. Do you see he ordered the Treasury employees whose building faces that to no longer send out photographs of the construction?
But we've already got the pictures, we know what is happening there. And apparently this ballroom has been paid for by people from Amazon, Apple, Lockheed Martin, and a lot of other big corporations.
Do you think anybody in MAGA world is saying, okay, we're not paying government workers who are not exactly getting rich even when they are getting paid, and we're doing a $250 million ballroom expansion at the White House?
I said people are texting about it. They think the timing is not really that good. I mean, I don't begrudge them having a bigger ballroom. I mean, the one I guess they have only sits 150 people, and maybe they need. But the timing of this seems bad.
It's bad,
And saying you're not going to touch the building and then you tear it down. And imagine
you're not saying he's not telling the truth, are you? I hope you're not. So are you suggesting that the President of the United States is not telling the truth?
I am suggesting he's not telling the truth.
Pretty bold.
I think the jackhammers all day long are going to bother people too. You know, it's not great to live next door to a construction site. They had a school. I was 2 doors up from a school they were building for 2 years. Yeah. The neighbors all thought they were going to. We all run around with
it's not
headsets
really about
on.
You, though. Tanya in Arlington, you are next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi, we're talking about the shutdown, day 21. Hello.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm just calling because I feel totally sympathetic and empathy for the federal workers, but I also want to point out that a lot of other people are losing their jobs. I have not worked since the end of August. I lost my job. I work in daycare, childcare. I haven't been able to find a job, and I've not received my unemployment. It's been 7 weeks now.
Wow.
There's such a backlog at Mass DUA. I certify every week, and every week I get a message saying that it's pending, and I'm not receiving a payment. And that's the 7 weeks now of unemployment that needs to be, that's coming my way. But I live by myself. I don't have a partner or spouse. It's been really, really tough. I'm getting SNAP benefits, but that's it. I luckily have Section 8, which is paying my rent, but it's incredibly stressful. I'm looking for work. I'm picking up temporary caregiving type stuff where I can. But as a single woman who's turning 60 at the end of the month.
Oh, Tanya.
It's really scary. So I want people to be aware that it's not just federal workers who are struggling, but there are all kinds of people. The DUA only answers the phones Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 4:30, actually 4 o'clock. And they have Fridays. So this started August 1st. Fridays, they don't even answer the phones because they're going through such a backlog of cases and trying to get people approved.
Tanya, what happened? What happened to the daycare? Did it shut down, or they just had to lay some people off, or what?
No, they fired me.
Oh,
and it was it. I don't want to get into it. I'm not going to say what daycare it was.
It's fine.
It was. They just decided they didn't want me. I didn't play the game. Basically, I typically don't like working for daycares because I don't like the toxicity.
Yeah.
I tended to be a nanny. I prefer that. That's just me. I kind of am a rebel. So,
hey, Tanya, do us a favor. Can you keep in touch with us on email or text and let us know how you're doing? And we're glad you shared your story.
Yeah, that's a long time to wait, Tanya.
Tanya, thank you. Thank you for calling, and we're really hoping things improve. 877-301-8970. Anonymous texter says, why would Trump open the government? We might get the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports. Actually, he'll say they're rigged, so he doesn't really give a damn.
I know. We don't know about
the way,
job numbers anymore.
This is really important. I didn't want to bring this up right away because I don't want to depress Marjorie more than she already is. An anonymous texter says Trump polls increase during the Democratic shutdown. During the shutdown, a Democratic shutdown is what the anonymous texter calls it. That texter, obviously, you can tell by calling it a Democratic shutdown where his politics are, her politics are. But that person is right. Trump's numbers went down during the 35-day shutdown during his first term. They're going up not insignificantly, more than a few points during this shutdown. I can't explain it. If any of you can, give us a buzz and let us know. 877-301-8970.
But if you're a Democrat, didn't we hear from CNN that the Democrats' numbers are improving?
Slightly, yeah. Slightly.
So.
I mean, on the margins kind of thing, they're not huge. And, again, I'm tired of you saying this every day, but you are right. I mean, no, I don't know if there's a solution to it. The Democratic spokespeople are not nearly as convincing with the truth as Donald Trump is with lies. I mean, he is just a master communicator in his odd sort of way.
But they're excuse me, and they're all lying, and it's working. I mean, Vance is lying, Johnson is lying, the senators are lying. I mean, it's really sort of incredible. People say they lie all the time. Not like this. This is a whole new avenue of lying, and the Democrats keep putting on television.
Oh, here we go. I mean,
it's true.
Yeah.
The messenger.
Until you have a solution, Marjorie, I don't know how useful this is every day.
I have a solution.
No, you don't have a solution.
I do.
When you are the elected leader of Democrats in the House or the Senate, a rank and filer can't just say, excuse me, Hakeem, I'm going to do the talking today because I'm more effective than you are. By the way, you're listening to BPR. Time for a pledge break as we continue just here on GBH.
Start your mornings on GBH 89.7. The biggest headlines.
Massachusetts law enforcement officials are supporting a new bill that would regulate cryptocurrency kiosks.
Boston's business news.
A struggling Cambridge biotech is finding some unconventional ways to keep the lights on.
And growing wisdom with meteorologist Dave Epstein.
Out in the Pacific, those waters are exceedingly warm.
GBH's Morning Edition. Weekdays starting at 6 on GBH 89.7.
The number again is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. So we've often pointed out that most of our money comes from the generosity of listeners like you, but the money we got from the government also helped we could ensure we could support a broad range of listeners, TV, radio, and those people who could not afford to give anything. Well, as you know, that money is gone now, and so we're really asking you to step up and help us maintain what we've been doing here at GBH, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. I want to mention a couple of these people that have taken the time to say what they like about the station. Listen to this from Ed in Salem. He said very nice things about me. And he says, you and I are perfectly matched.
No, you're pathetic. Okay, Ed from Salem says, Marjorie is exquisitely delightful.
That's right.
And Jim is her perfect match.
That's right. I'm exquisitely delightful.
Okay.
Together they are totally
Only
and wonderfully...
you would not read that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Together they are totally and wonderfully addictive, saved my dubious fantasy through COVID, and eased my grief and loneliness after my wife's passing a year ago, not to mention how wildly informative and marvelously entertaining they are.
That is really kind, Ed.
I know.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about your wife, Ed, and thank you very much for listening to us. And here's another person who says, Gabrielle in Marblehead says, don't know what I'd do without NPR, the valuable backdrop to my day, even when Marjorie and Jim are bickering.
Exactly.
Well, I guess I'm not so exquisitely delightful.
Say, I know Marjorie better than most of you. She is not exquisitely delightful. She's fine. She's probably better than fine, but it's clearly not exquisitely delightful.
Okay.
Now, here's the deal, though. With one thing we do agree on that we don't bicker over. This is another great gift today. 1-year digital subscription to the New York Times, $10 a month, $120 all at once. No games included, but you get all of the news content, breaking news, reviews, opinion blogs, videos. It's great. And, occasionally we take calls from you guys or get texts saying, how do I know what to rely on? Well, the New York Times, despite Marjorie's criticism about their coverage, which I share.
Of the protest,
the protest is a spectacular newspaper and a really important resource. And this is another thing, by the way, even if you get it, and I'm guessing a lot of you do, send it to your kids. Send it to anybody who doesn't have it, particularly if you have kids or grandkids. Send it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know who you should send it to?
No.
Friends that are misinformed because they listen to Fox News, perhaps members in your family, to get real news instead of made-up news. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Here's one more nice comment. Marianne from Tingsboro. Never miss Jim and Marjorie. Love their topics and guests, both political and fun. They keep me up to date and sane. And many people are saying that they're giving because they're so upset about the government not funding public television and public radio.
No, and I don't know if I mentioned this or you did. Ed from Salem said Marjorie is exquisitely delightful.
He did. I know.
We
Ed
got a good laugh out of that in the studio.
I love you.
We read that this morning.
Well, you don't have to worry about somebody calling you exquisitely delightful. I'll say that. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Forge Heat Pumps in Newton. All-in-one heat pumps provide heating and cooling for your whole home or just a single room. Learn more about how they work and how they can help shrink your carbon footprint at forgeheatpumps.com. And Minus 33 Merino Wool in Ashland, New Hampshire. Since 1916, makers of all-natural merino wool underwear, outerwear, and New Hampshire-made socks. Their merino wool clothing and accessories are available at minus33.com.
Vaccine-preventable diseases are on the rise, and the next outbreak is not a matter of if, but when. In our series, Unraveling Immunity, we explore what's going on with our vaccines.
From whooping cough across Massachusetts
to the barriers to getting vaccinated,
how it gets battled out at the State House,
and what it means for you.
Unraveling Immunity, online at gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Brody and Marjorie Egan. We're streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Not at the library today. We are back at the library tomorrow, Friday, and thereafter. And while we originally have been telling you that Mayor Wu would join us at the library next week, She's actually joining us this Friday, whatever that is, 24th, I think. Whatever Friday is, from noon to 1, Michelle Wu will be at the library with us. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about the government shutdown, day 21, already one of the longest in American history, and unless John King tells us something different in about 10 minutes, it seems like this is on its way to being the longest in American history. By the way, the prior longest one was under Trump the first time. And we want to know how you're reacting if you're a federal worker, and if you're not a federal worker, what's your reaction to 21 days of the federal government being essentially shut down?
Okay, my son, Paul from Auburn, says my son works for a small company, got his paperwork for open enrollment yesterday. His premium went from $200 a month to more than $400 a month. And then this person says their friend from high school just got the health care premium update. She said that for her and her husband, it will go from 400 something to $3,000. That seems incredible.
I've heard. Well, I've heard 4 times increase. 7 times is the biggest I have heard. That's huge, actually.
Yeah, so it's supposedly going to double. That's what it's supposed to do, but who knows?
I don't know what the number is stuck with me. 77% is the number. I'm not sure if 77% of the people who will see increases live in red states, or if 77% of the total economic impact is in red states. But the point is, the overwhelming percentage of bad news around non-extension of the Obama premium levels is in red states. And you raise an interesting question about how these senators and congresspeople from those states who are voting with Trump, how they survive that. Who do they blame that? Well, I guess, what they're going to say? They're going to say President Trump has made it clear, answering my own question, as soon as the Democrats end their irresponsible shutdown, we'll, of course, negotiate around these things, as we've said all along. So they have a way to BS their way out of this, too.
So they're going to have to change their previous argument, which is that they were getting rid of waste, fraud, and corruption. That's not going to
sort of like
work.
changing the argument that Ukraine should reclaim all its old land, as opposed to now they should just give up whatever they had?
By the way, a lot of people who've had trouble with Massachusetts unemployment are suggesting that the callers get in touch with their state representative and state senator, and that can sometimes help.
Jim and Lynn, you're next on BPR. We're talking about the government shutdown. Hi.
Good morning, Jim and Marjorie.
And to you.
My heart goes out to these employees that have to work without pay. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm a retired municipal employee. I know we had to work during the COVID shutdown, but we did get paid. But I just get that out of the way. I just wanted to, 2 things. I was a passionate Democrat. I was on the town committee for years back in the early 90s. As a matter of fact, I went to the Springfield Convention in 1990, and I went outside to have a smoke during a break, and there was this guy next to me, and he looked at me, and if looks could kill, and it was, Marjorie, was that fellow sitting next to you, Jim Browdy.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, my God.
No, I was there covering it for NECN.
The anti-smoke crusader. Did he, grab the cigarette out of your mouth?
By the way, Jim, I want you to know I haven't gotten it over it yet, by the way. I've been thinking about you.
What happened?
I have given them up. I did give up the smokes.
Okay.
All right. Just as a personal note, I'm just almost demoralized with the current state of the Democratic Party. They've become almost a default party. They just get in and for 2 years, and they're afraid to pass anything historic. They haven't passed really since Medicare in 1965.
Jim, they passed the single largest commitment to climate change, to fighting climate change in the history of at least the United States, if not the history of the world.
And Obamacare.
That was a year ago. No, he said since then. By the way, Jim, you're listening to BPR, time for a pledge break, but only here at GBH. So
Okay, we have lost our federal funding. The government is no longer supporting public radio and public TV, so it's a particularly fraught time for us. Nearly all of our money comes from the support of listeners like you, your generosity, but we have that extra money that would allow us to support a lot of extra services, and especially to support people who could not afford to give anything because they're, sort of down on their luck. So the number to donate is 888-897-9424, WGBHnews.org. We have a great gift today, a thank you gift. It is a $10 a month online subscription to the New York Times. It's a news subscription. It's about getting a news content, breaking news, reviews, opinion blogs, videos. Not the games and the cooking, but it's all news. You can get it anywhere, anytime on your phone, which is really great because you can get alerts as things happen. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
By the way, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. All the alerts, once you have a subscription, an online subscription, you can subscribe for free. Alerts in all kinds of areas.
Yeah.
Business, breaking news, world politics.
I get it on my phone, and I get them all the time.
Really
so if something really dramatic happens.
So it's a great thing. And as I said earlier, my guess is that most of you get the New York Times already. If you don't, you should. And if somebody you care about doesn't, particularly someone in your family like your kid or your grandkid, it's a spectacular gift that, I hate the expression, keeps on giving, but it keeps on giving because you probably know the New York Times comes out every day.
I do know that it comes out every day.
Every single day. It's amazing.
But you know what? I think we've learned something during this Trump era, that the importance of some of these family-owned newspapers. The Sulzbergers own the New York Times. They're a wealthy family, obviously, but they own the Boston Globe is owned by a family. That's a big deal, right? It's not owned by Paramount, some conglomerate. That really has mattered in terms of the truth-telling that goes on. I think
non-capitulation.
And non-capitulation to Donald Trump.
That's a very good point.
That's a big deal. The Henrys, I should have said, Linda and John Henry own the New York own the Globe, and the Sulzberger family owns the New York Times.
I'd say it's the best regional paper in the country. It's spectacular.
I think it is. I think it is too.
I think it's
and
really
it's not
important.
Knuckling under to Donald Trump like parts, anyway, not all.
But we're not giving that away today. We're giving the New York Times away today. And it's for $10 a month or $120 all at once. And if you have time to make contribution at 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. First of all, it's brief. You too can leave a note like Rebecca and Haverhill, all caps, by the way. Love all the programs, and Jim and Marjorie. Make my work day fly by. This is a really good one, too, from Karina, I believe, in Westport. Jim and Marjorie keep my husband in the basement gym for several hours a week. That is priceless. That's not me saying that is priceless.
No,
that's Karina saying that is priceless.
Every spouse needs a few hours a day.
So if you want to keep your spouse in the basement gym, call 888-897-9424. You can also just change a lock while it's down there. But short of that, a lot cheaper, $10 a month for the New York Times news subscription for a year online. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Funding for our programs comes from you. And Silligrams, a Boston area manufacturer working with businesses to create custom silicone products for corporate gifts and branded merchandise. Learn about their monogrammed ice trays and more online at silligrams.com. And the Umbrella Arts Center, presenting the electric musical Tick, Tick, Boom by Jonathan Larson. Before there was rent, there was a composer with a dream. Playing October 10th through November 23rd. Details at theumbrellaarts.org.
A growing network of top colleges is working to recruit more rural students, an effort they hope can help bridge cultural divides.
Serving the entire United States, not just the big cities, is really important.
Bringing students together from these dramatically different backgrounds, giving them a chance to talk to each other.
I'm Kirk Carapezza. You can find the rest of that story online at gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR, GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We are finally back at the library tomorrow. Joining us will be Harvard National Security expert Juliette Kayyem, Sports Authority Trenni Casey, naturalist Sy Montgomery. Mayor Wu was supposed to spend an hour with us at the library next Tuesday. She advanced it. She's coming this Friday. Friday, noon to 1, Michelle Wu will join us at the library for an hour. Take your questions and ours. Right now, we're joined on Zoom by CNN's chief national correspondent, John King, the man behind the reporting project all over the map, and at least what I'm really excited about is now covering the New York City mayor's race. Hey, John, good to see you.
Hey, John.
Way more boring guy than all those great gifts you got coming.
I don't think so.
No. So, John, Jim and I have been bickering about how the Democrats have no messengers. And if I see Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer one more time on television, I'm going to throw myself over the balcony. You have a great communicator there. He's a Democratic socialist, but in Zora Mondami, you're down there covering the mayor's race. What do you think of this guy? Or what do people think of this guy, I should say?
First, you need to see if he can win. Obviously, early voting is open. The election is coming up the week from Tuesday and all that. What do you think of him? It's a great divide here, even in the city. 5 boroughs, almost 9 million people, very complicated politics because of the rich diversity of this great city. Some Democrats see him as the hope. A lot of his young, energized, young professional supporters see him as the hope because, as you were just talking about, he says what he thinks. He says some things that are, controversial. He says some things that are expensive. He wants to do some things. He's going to need the New York governor, for example, in an election year to raise taxes to help him pay for a lot of the things he wants to do. But he says it, right? He understands that's politically controversial. He understands he's making people make tough choices, and that's part of his appeal. The flip side to that is there are a lot of Democrats here in New York and elsewhere in the country who know if Mamdani wins, Republicans are going to just escalate what they're already trying to do. Say the Democrats are the lunatic left socialists who want to raise your taxes and don't do anything. And so there are a lot of Democrats actually a little nervous about that because of some of his positions. I do think you can study what he's done on social media. That's the one thing he has in common with Donald Trump. Mamdani has used social media incredibly effectively to motivate his supporters and to communicate instantly, to fix things if he makes a mistake and things like that. He's articulate. I mean, think about, I'm in New York City today. I just took a break from one of the shoots I'm doing to come in to do this. Think about it. This is the city that launched Donald Trump. Imagine if it elects a mayor who is young, an immigrant, Muslim, a democratic socialist in his 30s. That's New York City sending, who has said that Trump is wrong on just about everything. What happens if he wins? This is America's most populous city, and guess what? It has more undocumented immigrants than any other city in America. Does Donald Trump want to make this his next test case? Or because of his ties to New York, does he kind of de-escalate? We don't know the answers to that. But to your point about what voters are looking for, Christie, all those Republicans learned it in 2016. Voters across the spectrum are tired with the old way.
Yeah.
Tired with the establishment way. They think they're too timid. They think they're not authentic. They think a whole lot of things about them. And they're looking for something different. And New York may be about to join that parade.
So, John, without getting lost in the weeds, there's almost never a day that I don't read a story about how Curtis Sliwa, who, by the way, I lived in New York in the 80s. I lived in the 70s and then half of the 80s, 15 years. Curtis Sliwa was doing his beret thing then, 40 years ago.
Protecting the subways.
Whatever it was incredible.
He was in Boston, too.
So he was?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I met him.
So if a lot of rich people are urging Sliwa to drop out of the race, obviously, the theory being all of his votes go to Cuomo and Cuomo beats the Democratic Socialist. Do the numbers reflect? If every vote that Sliwa had went to Cuomo, if he were to pull out, would this be a real race, or is this still a double-digit lead for Mamdani?
No, potentially yes. Potentially yes.
Really?
Look, there are 8 polls that CNN views as credible published in September. In each of those 8, there have been others too, and they're all pretty consistent, but there's 8 that meet our standards at CNN, published in September. Mamdani's been up double digits in all of them. The closest Cuomo has been is 13 or 14 points. Sliwa's a distant third in all of them. But that distant third is, 6 or 8. It would get it into play. I can tell you from traveling around to all 5 boroughs in the last couple of weeks, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of organization. Mamdani's strength in the end here, maybe he has a superior organization too, to turn people out. But there are also a lot of doubts about him. This is a city of almost 9 million people. You got the schools, the cops, the crime, the transportation, everything, and he doesn't have executive experience. That's not a criticism, it's just a fact. So there are people who raise doubts about that, and Cuomo's pushing that. Sliwa getting out would make it a closer race and would put Cuomo within striking distance, right? Sliwa says that's not going to happen. We'll see what happens in the days we have left in this race.
Eric Adams wasn't going to pull out either, was he?
Exactly. And so, but think about, Jim, what's happening here. Andrew Cuomo says he should get out, but so do a whole bunch of Donald Trump's rich Republican friends. Donald Trump has not said that. He has not said that. He doesn't think much of Cuomo or Sliwa when he talks. But you have this now Republican allies of Donald Trump and Republicans who don't want their taxes raised, saying let's get Sliwa out of the race. But think about that. You're asking Republicans in New York to vote for a Cuomo. I was in Staten Island and I thought heads were going to explode at that possibility. Cuomo's a curse word here, to Republicans. And Cuomo, had to leave the governor's office because of multiple credible allegations of sexual harassment. And so, I talked about the Democrat angst about getting a Democratic socialist in office. Some Democrats are nervous about that. But think about if Cuomo were to win. What message would that send for the Democrats? So this one is complicated. There's some fascinating things about this race, and there's some about this race, too.
Yeah.
So when you go to Staten Island, everybody I think who hasn't lived in New York thinks Manhattan is all 5 boroughs. When you go to Staten Island, I don't mean this in a disparaging way, I mean it descriptively. Do you feel like you're in a different country? It is a totally different world, right?
It is. It's the only of the 5 boroughs that's majority white. It's the smallest, but it's still almost 500,000 people. That's Oakland, California. That's Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a borough in New York City, right? But it's 56% white. Trump carried Staten Island all 3 times he's run for president. Trump hasn't come anywhere close in New York City when you add up all the votes. But it is one, Jim, they're all complicated. The Bronx is majority Latino. Queens is the most diverse borough, I would say, in the world. I mean, it's just, Latino population, Asian population, the really growing Asian population, including the Southeast Asian population. So they're all a little different. Brooklyn's a little younger, a little more hipper, if you will, but also has some old establishment. That's what I'm learning so much. I study the data all the time, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't spent a ton of time wandering New York City like I have over the last month. And it's an amazing education. It's an amazing place. Trust me, I don't like the Yankees. I don't like the Knicks. Don't worry, folks.
That, John.
I haven't had the Kool-Aid, but it's a fascinating place.
Can't wait to see all your stuff, by the way. I'm so glad you're there.
About the Democratic Socialist label, you read a lot of stories that talk about young people who are fed up with capitalism because capitalism is not working for them. They can't afford an apartment, they can't afford a house, they can't afford college, they can't afford anything. And Bernie Sanders gets these huge crowds all over the place. So I sometimes wonder, and when you look at what they're talking about, it's not crazy left-wing lunacy, it's childcare that they can afford, it's rent that they can afford. I mean, these aren't wacky ideas. So I don't know how easy it is to dismiss people addressing your day-to-day kitchen table issues as wacky leftist lunacy. You know what I mean?
You raise a key point, Marjorie. I think the question will be if Mamdani wins, and he was asked this in the debate last week, what happens if you can't get all the tax revenue you need to pay for everything, right? He wants to have free buses. He wants to have a freeze on rents. He can't do all apartments, but he wants to have a freeze on rents. He wants a universal child care thing. And he said the child care thing would come first. That's what he said, that if he had to make choices and compromises. And even there, right? So that, a lot of people are trying to paint him as this, my way or the highway, radical, ideologue. At least as the campaign has moved on, he has started to reach out to people who didn't vote for him. He's reached out to a lot of people, whether it's in the police. He was once a very strong defund the police guy. He's been reaching out to people. But so the question is, what does he actually do when he governs? How do you manage? You're not going to get everything you want. You may not get all the revenue you want, but he has focused on that. And you hear that a lot from people, just that you'll have people who say, I'm all for Mamdani. Of course, he's not going to get the city-run grocery stores. Of course, he's not going to get all this, but he's a smart guy and he'll figure it out. We'll see if he wins. Can he? Yeah. How does he deal with the difficulties of governing as someone who does have zero experience as a chief executive? So it is a giant challenge ahead of him. But a lot of the appeal, the voters who, they just say, like you meet a lot of young professional women here who won't even take Cuomo because of the sexual harassment allegations. But they also say, look at all of the Democrats. To your point about Schumer and Jeffries, and this is somewhat unfair to them, but a lot of voters will say, so what do they say every time? We'll give you 500 more cops, or we'll give you a little bit of, or they're timid about Trump. And, they see this timidity and they want something, again, I keep coming back to this, they want something different. And that can be different for different voters, but they don't like what they got, which leads you to interesting places.
Yeah, Mamdani's got the same problem Mood does. He's got to get everything through the legislature, too. They got a lot of home rule stuff going on in New York City. So what about the shutdown? We were talking about it before with our listeners, John, and we don't seem to have the same angst about it this time around. I'm not sure why.
If you're a federal worker, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, but there doesn't seem to be that much chit-chat about it the way there was the first time.
Well, Republicans are taking the lead from Donald Trump, who was president for the longest shutdown in our history and was very active then, if you remember. It was almost every day saying things about it. And there was not a huge impact on the midterm elections after that, the election after that shutdown. But Republicans did get more of the blame. And I think the Trump strategy on this one is almost pretend it's not happening. He's tried to move some money around to pay the military, tried to move some money around to pay some other people. There are a lot of people who say he doesn't have the legal right to do that. But there are other people who would say, who cares? Pay, if you can, pay as many people as you can. That'll be a debate post-shutdown. The Democrats are holding out right now. The polling shows that, at the moment, more people blame the Republicans, but it's not a huge gap. I think there was a Reuters Ipsos poll today that had 50% blame the Republicans and 43% blame the Democrats. Trump's approval rating is, not great, but it's been pretty static throughout all that. So the political guy is raising these numbers in the context that, normally these things break when somebody sees they're being hurt, when somebody sees they're being damaged. And I think the Democrats believe if they're standing on health care, it puts them in a strong position heading into the midterm election, and so they don't need to blink. And the Republicans are watching Trump. To the point you were having earlier, the Republicans, their math simply does not work if they reopen the social safety net decisions they made in their big spending bill. Their math doesn't work. So I don't think that one there is, I think the red line for Republicans. However, the Obamacare subsidies, which as we've talked about before, affect a lot of people in red states. A lot of Trump voters get those healthcare subsidies. I do think that's the one that will move at some point. The question is, do they just do a straight up deal on that? Do the Democrats accept just that? Or do the Republicans openly say we're going to, cave or give in on this? That's that part. I mean, they're not talking right now. So we're having this hypothetical, theoretical conversation about potential solutions, but the people who have to broker them are not in the same room and not that often on the same phone call.
I want to repeat a statistic I first heard on your station. I think it's from the Kaiser Family Fund or whatever it's called, that 77% of the enrollees in this market, the Obamacare marketplace, are in states that Trump won. I mean, that's a pretty powerful thing, it seems to me, but so far it has not had an impact. John, this is one of these questions where you'll be polite and give me an answer, even though I know it's a ridiculous question. You've been doing this a long time. When I saw the Speaker of the House yesterday ask the question at a press availability where he defended the AI video from Donald Trump dropping feces on the demonstrators as he wears a crown, but continued to refer to millions of Americans and other residents demonstrating in essentially exercising their speech rights as a pro-hate rally. I can't even believe that an adult could so subjugate their integrity out of fear for another man. Have you ever seen such blanket loyalty, no matter what the issue is, from a whole party like we see the Republicans and Trump?
No, but it is the giant change in our politics in the sense that you're outraged when you see that, because we grew up in an era where the Speaker of the House, given every 2 years, it could be a Democrat, could be a Republican, but you think that's in the Constitution, that's the third highest official in the United States of America. That person speaks to America. Yes, they're a Democrat or yes, they're a Republican, but they're supposed to speak to the country as one of its leaders, as the top official in the great People's House of Representatives. That doesn't happen in the Trump age. They do base. This is about keeping their base happy, which is apparently at least a big chunk of it amused by such things or not offended by such things. It's about keeping the House majority, whether that's through, redistricting heading into the next year, whether that's through supporting Trump when he does these things that just gin up his base, that, alienate everybody else. But the Republican calculation is most of us are in safe districts. We got the handful of competitive districts we're going to have to win. To win those, we got to turn out every mega voter we can. And so we're going to live by a new set of rules that Donald Trump's Republican Party is very different than any Republican Party you and I and Marjorie have lived with and covered in our years of doing this. So sometimes that leaves us shocked. But as I always say, I always say I've been doing this for 40 years. I have all this great experience. Yeah, sometimes that's very helpful. Some days it is useless because we live in a brand new world.
Well, speaking of brand new world, then the last naive question of at least this discussion. I watched the discussion on your station last night about this memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. This incredibly powerful retelling from a woman who died from suicide, who was one of the victims of Epstein and Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre, I believe is how you pronounce it. Does that put pressure? Does the release of this book and the fact that a lot of people are going to talk about it, does that put enough pressure on the same person we're talking about, the Speaker, to swear in the new congressperson, which would apparently give a majority to those who want all of the Epstein documents reported, or is that just nothing matters to them if Donald Trump doesn't want it to happen?
I think the speaker has made clear that he's not paying much attention to external factors, and that would be another one that could gin up the pressure. I do think, the Arizona Attorney General now is talking about filing suit. I do think whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I would just say, if you value democracy, she won the election. She won a special election that was weeks ago. The people of her district deserve representation. I don't care whether she's a Democrat or Republican. She happens to be a Democrat in this case. But I think it should be that this is like, I'm sorry, this is the most sacred foundation of who we are as a country. People vote for who they want to represent them. That person deserves to be seated, period. However they're going to vote. If the vote is inconvenient to Donald Trump or Speaker Johnson, too bad. There was an election. But again, everything gets, every rule or every norm gets bent, and a lot of them are flat out getting broken.
Well, she's got to be sworn in eventually. So what's the strategy?
That's a great, again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, he says he wants everyone to be back to give her the big moment with everybody here. I see Jim, the great benefit of this being Zoom, not just old school radio. Is I would have heard it anyway. I know. I'm just trying to give him his due. That's what he says. Yes, they're going to have to seat her eventually, and eventually that's going to happen. So I don't get it.
Maybe the hope that we'll forget about Epstein?
No,
is that
the hope is that Donald Trump will call 3 Republican members who plan to vote to release the Epstein files and say, you got to switch your vote, boys and girls.
It's going to be tough for Marjorie Taylor Greene after all this to switch her vote, don't you think? She's been very outspoken.
You're listening to BPR Pledge Break, but only here on GBH.
We are funded primarily by our listeners, by people who value the station, by you. That's especially important right now that our federal funding has been revoked. So please support your future GBH listening by giving on this next to last day of our fall membership drive. Call 888-897-9424 or make your gift online at gbhnews.org. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Melissa Jones.
The bill passed by Congress to claw back approved federal funding for public media was just one of many attacks from the White House to eliminate our service. And what we know now is that more listener support is the only way to secure the future of GBH. Please stand up now for independent journalism and a free press in this country by giving now. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And we have a goal right now to receive just 6 more contributions here in the next about 4 minutes. We need the financial support of everyone who relies on GBH to keep this valuable source of news and information on the air and available to all. It's so critical to hit these goals, especially here on our next to last day of our fall membership drive. Every dollar makes a huge difference. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
So today we're going to thank you with an annual online subscription to the New York Times when you give a gift of $10 a month to GBH or $120 all at once. The facts are important to you. That's why you're listening right now. And the New York Times is a perfect companion to this kind of listening. The deadline for this is coming up at 7 o'clock, and then the offer goes away. So $10 a month right now or $120, gbhnews.org, or call 888-897-9424.
Hey, thank you so much if you've made your gift of support. We heard from Patricia in Sandwich, who says it's a wonderful station. I love listening to Marjorie and Jim. They make my day. Thank you so much, Patricia. We also heard from Nancy in Waltham, who says, I'm a new listener and retired. I watch on YouTube and I enjoy Jim and Marjorie, and they're very complimentary. We also watch the news each night. Love that it's unbiased. Thank you so much, Nancy. And also, we just heard from Daniel in Andover, who says he and his wife love GBH and Jim and Marjorie. Join them. Make your gift of support right now by calling 888-897-9424 and let us know why you listen and why you're supporting GBH and Boston Public Radio here. You can also give online at gbhnews.org.
You know, in July, when Congress made it clear that it had no appetite for continuing funding for public media, it's kind of unbelievable given public media's track record for being a popular and efficient use of taxpayer dollars. But if you've never given to GBH but believe funding cuts were short-sighted, then it's time to hear from you. We would be gone already if not for listener support. We are here for you. It's time for you to join tens of thousands of people who make this service possible. Give right now at gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
That's right. Please take just a couple of minutes to make your contribution to GBH. We just need a little bit of contact information and the amount you'd like to give. You can sign up as a new sustaining member or make a one-time gift, and in just a couple of minutes, you're helping to bring NPR and all the programs you love here on GBH to Boston and beyond. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Ooh, we're really close. We just need 2 more people to give right now to help us wrap up this hour and keep us on track for this pledge drive. Of course, it's the next to last day, so your participation right now is so important. gbhnews.org, 888-897-9424. Just 2 more people in the next couple of minutes. Be one of those folks.
And when you make that gift of support, be sure to ask for your online subscription to the New York Times as our thanks for your gift of just $10 per month as a sustaining member, or a one-time gift of $120 all at once. You're going to get 2 of the most trusted names in journalism with your one contribution to GBH. Again, this is a limited offer just available today, but you're listening right now. You can support your Boston Public Radio listening and ask for the online subscription to the New York Times as our thanks. Again, $10 per month. Call 888-897-9424 or make that gift online at gbhnews.org.
It's not over yet. More smart conversation about community issues up ahead with Jim Braude and Marjorie Egan on Boston Public Radio, right after a news update from NPR. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7. You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Braude, ahead on the hour number 2 of BPR. We're not at the library today. We'll be tomorrow. We'll start the noon hour with the latest from the award-winning team at Frontline. The rise of RFK Jr. tracks the Health and Human Services Secretary's journey from a childhood defined by violence through drug abuse and cruelty into the eventual embrace of and by the conspiracy world of MAGA. We'll check in with the director, Michael Kirk.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then it's Milk Street's Christopher Kimball out with yet another cookbook. This time it's Milk Street Shorts, chock full of recipes that make the most with a few simple ingredients. That's all on the second hour of BPR 89.7 GBH.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Vice President J.D. Vance is meeting with Israeli leaders. He and other top envoys from the U.S. are in the region to help shore up the fragile Israel-Hamas ceasefire that Washington recently brokered. Their visit follows violence over the weekend that threatened to derail the truce.
Every time something bad happens, and every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire. This is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that.
The parties are focused on the second phase of the ceasefire. It includes Hamas disarmament, Israeli troop withdrawals, and an interim government in Gaza. A federal judge in Chicago is ordering the Trump administration's top Border Patrol official to be deposed in a lawsuit over the treatment of immigration protesters. Michael Puente of member station WBEZ reports.
Gregory Bovino, the U.S. Border Patrol commander at large, and 2 other federal officials will have to answer questions about tactics used for the so-called Operation Midway Blitz. District Judge Sarah Ellis heard testimony Monday on whether ICE and Border Patrol agents are complying with her temporary restraining order issued October 9th, prohibiting the targeting of protesters and the press during demonstrations. Ellis called for the hearing because she had concerns over recent confrontations where tear gas was used without warning to the public. Another hearing is set for early next month. For NPR News, I'm Michael Puente in Chicago.
Former FBI Director James Comey is asking a judge to throw out the false statement case against him. Comey's among President Trump's most outspoken critics. And as NPR's Carrie Johnson tells us, Comey alleges he's being unfairly targeted.
President Trump fired Comey as the FBI director in 2017, and Comey went on to become a fierce critic. The Justice Department won an indictment against Comey for allegedly misleading and obstructing Congress under pressure from Trump, who's called him a dirty cop and a slime ball. Now Comey's moving to dismiss the case because he says it's a vindictive or selective prosecution. He says at least 4 top officials during President Trump's first term allegedly lied to Congress, and none of them was charged with any crimes. The president's animus against Comey's so intense that the Justice Department recently fired Comey's daughter without any clear reason. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow was up 328 points, or roughly 0.75% at 47,035. The S&P gained 8. The Nasdaq was off 20 points. This is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Harvard graduates are urging their alma mater to resist the Trump administration's demands. The call from the alumni group Crimson Courage comes as negotiations to restore the school's federal funding continue. From our higher ed desk, GBH's Kirk reports that they want Harvard President Alan Garber to protect the school's independence.
In a new letter to Garber, Crimson Courage says Harvard shouldn't make any concessions that sacrifice academic freedom or civil liberties. The letter comes at a crucial time for Harvard and American higher education, as the Trump administration pressures 9 other colleges to agree to its sweeping agenda in exchange for easier access to federal funding. All but 2 universities, Vanderbilt and the University of Texas, have declined the offer. In its letter, Crimson Courage says preferential treatment is, quote, both bribery and extortion. Kirk Carapezza, GBH News.
The deadline to register to vote for Massachusetts' upcoming elections is fast approaching. In Massachusetts, you must register to vote, update your registration, or change your party affiliation at least 10 days before any election or town meeting. And this year, the deadline is Saturday, October 25. According to the Secretary of State's office, 55 cities and towns in Massachusetts will hold municipal elections on November 4th, including for the mayor of Boston and the city councilors in Worcester. Bruins are back on home ice tonight, hosting the Florida Panthers. The Celtics open the season at home tomorrow, hosting the 76ers. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include BetterHelp, committed to helping clients with issues ranging from relationship challenges and goal setting to grief and depression. Learn more at betterhelp.com/public. This is NPR.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. And we're finally going to be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow with our national security expert, Juliette Kayyem, our sports authority, Trenni, Casey, naturalist, Sy Montgomery. On Friday, we're going to be joined by the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu. She's going to be here this Friday from noon to 1. Hello again, Jim.
Hey there, Marjorie. You know, we talk a lot on the show about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as everybody knows, now the country's top health and human services official. Well, he gets the Frontline spotlight, care of one of the best in the business. That'd be Michael Kirk. Here's reporter Rebecca Traister, another one of the best in the business, by the way, and Frontline's The Rise of RFK Jr., talking about the impact of a man like him simply experiencing the consequences of his own actions.
If you have lived decades on this earth and enjoyed relatively unchallenged access to power and adulation, and then you experience what is fundamentally a consequence of his error, it feels like, help, I'm being oppressed. Because if all you've had is access and entitlement and power, then anything short of access and power feels like persecution and oppression.
It is fabulous. We're joined now in Studio 3 by Michael Kirk, the filmmaker behind Frontline's latest documentary. I haven't seen him in a while in person. It's great to see you. The Rise of RFK Jr. It airs tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, available on YouTube and the PBS app. Michael, it is spectacular. Congratulations. Good to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you,
Yeah,
too.
and I learned so much. And from everything I've seen and heard and read before, you totally captured this guy's above it all perspective on the rest of us mere little mortals. But I did not know that this relationship began when he spoke with Trump after the assassination attempt? Tell us.
Same day.
Yeah, same night.
Yeah.
That evening. Floored me when I heard the story. And then when we managed to find people who were there in the room on the phone call and were close to Bobby and they were Democrats, and they thought, our guy, Bobby Kennedy, he's going to be the guy for us and all of that. When that moment happened, they were just thunderstruck, as I was, to just hear about it and try to capture it on tape.
It sounded like
Marjorie,
he recorded.
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
It sounded like Kennedy recorded the phone call, and how did
It's his son shooting it sort of surreptitiously. They sort of said to themselves they weren't going to make a copy of it, but it got out on.
Was this Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriend?
That's all Marjorie cares about, Michael. Let's be straight here.
I know her only too well.
Okay.
I'm very suspicious of any question where she's leading.
Yeah, but he sounded like, so his son recorded the phone call.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
So let's go back well before and we'll obviously return to what happens after that momentous phone call. So his uncle executed when he's in single digits.
Yeah.
His father, with whom he was very close, assassinated, I think when he was 14.
That's right.
What was the immediate impact on RFK as a teenager when he lost his father?
The bottom falls out of your world. We've hundreds of pictures of Bobby Kennedy and his son Robert Kennedy Jr. You see the love, you see the affection, you see the connection, you see the physical connection between the two of them, and then that goes away. First, Uncle Jack, who loved him, they were very close. I think everybody spotted young Bobby as the scion, the one, not John, not anybody else is going to be, not any of the girls for sure.
Oh, no.
It was going to be Bobby. And Robert Kennedy himself, the father, connected to him, watching his dad. You see the energy in Bobby now that he saw in his dad then, and I can see it in the eyes, and I can see when he's cooking like his dad used to be able to do. I didn't know his dad, but I was obviously alive and well during that time, and I can feel the vibration. What happens to him? His mom is pregnant with her 11th child. The adults are all grieving themselves. There was somebody in the film says there was no therapy in those days. It wasn't your first instinct to take a kid and get him in there, or even to take the grown-ups. So booze, sadness, anger, the usual Kennedy style in lots of ways, people tell us, operated. And young Bobby, his dad dies in June, and by fall he's sent off to boarding school alone and unnourished for the rest of the time.
Yeah, you get the sense that Ethel Kennedy was overwhelmed, but not just from the death of the murder of her husband, but all these children. That's a lot of children.
Yeah.
And then the fact that Bobby, as you point out, struggled in a couple of these prep schools. Wasn't he thrown out of a couple of them?
He cycled through 3 prep schools during the time.
Yeah.
Started in on pot and then got heavier and heavier. We have a friend of his from high school in the film who said, just a lonely, lonely dude. Not funny, not talkative, not anything, just dead. And one of the things I do once in a while is I'll show a film to a psychiatrist or a shrink before it's all done to say, what's going on here? What's the classic? And they always say, I can't prescribe or diagnose without being in a room with them. But what you see is early adolescent trauma of a magnitude that his behavior belies somebody who's in real trouble with no help on the horizon.
One of your next films should be a campaign to get rid of the Goldwater rule, by the way, so we can have Shrink's comment on...
Before you leave the adolescence, just because I read a lot of these books when I was a kid too, that Jacqueline Kennedy wanted to get away from that whole scene, that summer scene with all the wild Kennedy kids down Hyannisport, was really concentrated on her children. And when you had interactions as a journalist with John Kennedy, when he was a grown-up, very polite, very different. Certainly, a person that was showered with adulation, but she raised them in a very, very different way.
There is a fascinating thing, Marjorie, that people told us about, which is the difference between the Kennedy clans. That it's not just because you're a Kennedy, okay, that you're in the company, Kennedy Inc., but also Bobby's kids and Ethel's kids had a different kind of way of being, a little wilder. They were, as we show in the film, lots of animals everywhere, all over the house, and everything else. Kind of energy that was a Bobby Kennedy energy, an Ethel Kennedy energy, to be sure. Jackie and Jack's kids,
different.
Very different, very straight-laced, not that they were angels, not that John was an angel, but they were very different. And the Smith kids and the Lawford kids, they were all, yes, the kids all played together. Yes, they're a collective now of 31 of them, maybe 30, but they are all very different, except about Kennedy Inc., where they are very protective. And
before we get to the anti-vax period of his life and that embrace, which obviously led, even though it was a rocky road, as we'll discuss, to where he is today. You talk about how he was really able to lead a double life. When he got into more serious drugs, heroin and things like that, his private behavior didn't always spill over into his public behavior, even though when he was in the DA's office, he was not a terrific success. But he was able to live two lives, yeah?
Well, that's the thing. I was surprised about this, too. When somebody said, we're in the early stages of interviews. We did 30-some interviews, most of them a couple of hours long. So really down and dirty with everybody, and generosity from their part on their part to talk to us for so long. But somebody said there's a duality in this guy. There's an interior and an exterior. Of course, you sort of know that about everybody, even us, but really famous people, usually that inside gets exposed. But that there was a really private and what's the deal about that and heroin and cocaine speedballs, which he did for 14 years. This is a real rocket ride this guy is on. But able, according to almost everybody we've talked to who knew him, able to compartmentalize. I'm Bobby Kennedy. Someday I might be president of the United States. I'm going to act that way. But I'm also hiring a kite and nodding off and hiding inside these drugs. I have a kind of one side of me that's maybe a death wish, and one side of me that's really, really ambitious and handsome and articulate. And that life and that person, you watch him go through Harvard, where he gets in despite cycling through high schools, despite a drug arrest at one moment. He still gets all the Kennedy, here we go. You're in where Uncle Jack went and Bobby went and Joe went and old Joe went. You're in the family school. Well, inside that school, you are operating on two completely different levels. You're apparently a coke dealer. You're also a performative outlaw, according to one person we interviewed. And at the same time, you write a book, your thesis, maybe you write the book yourself, maybe somebody helps you, but you write a book that becomes a thesis just like Uncle Jack's did. Uncle Jack's won a Pulitzer Prize. Yours doesn't exactly do that, but you've got a book, you've got an Atlantic Monthly article, you write while you're there. You go to Morgenthau's, the DA in New York, the famous DA in New York. You go to that office. Yes, you failed the bar, but you're still there. You're not a stellar thing, but you're a Kennedy. And nobody's really questioning you until you go over the top and OD on an airplane on your way to South Dakota, and they find you in the bathroom, white as a sheet and ready to go down.
The one word that was left out of the list you had a minute ago was the cruelty, and I have to say, it's hard to rank cruelty in someone's life. There are a lot of cruel people these days. The situation with his second wife, who ended up taking her own life, is just unimaginable. And for those who didn't know, can you describe his he traded one addiction apparently for another?
A lot of people we talked to said, so after the overdose, he goes to rehab. He cleans up. He's a Kennedy, so he gets a sentence that is community service, cleaning up the Hudson River, a place his dad used to take him, getting the mercury poisoning in the fish and everything. And he passes the bar, and he becomes a very highly regarded in that world, environmental lawyer. He's a good advocate.
I interviewed him, by the way, about environmental stuff, and he was spectacular, by the way.
Jim, your story is consistent with everybody who talked to him, and that's why we went out and found footage of him acting like Bobby. And you see the dad in that sort of fervor and everything. And by all accounts, does a really good thing for the Hudson River. He's not singularly the person who changes it, but he fights it, and it's hundreds of lawsuits, and they win, and blah blah blah. He divorces his first wife, Emily Black, with whom he has 2 children. He starts his life over. This is after the drugs. Marries a woman who was a kind of Kennedy groupie, friend of his sister's. Breathed deeply, as one person says, of the Kennedy oxygen, and wanted to be a Kennedy herself. There's lots of people like that around the Kennedys. He marries Mary. They have 4 kids. They have a beautiful house in Westchester County, New York. He's a famous advocate, environmental advocate. They're on the gala circuit. He can make dollars rain for the River Keepers group because he's Kennedy, and all the stars come. We show all the stars being around him in those days. But Bobby has another problem. And we use his words a lot in interviews with him to keep him in the movie, because we don't usually interview the person we're doing the film about. And he says, I'm like Adam in the Garden of Eden. I want more. And one of the things he wanted more of was what the experts we've shown the film to them. He wanted more serotonin hits. He needed more something to get him going, and that turned out to be women. In one case, the family babysitter, who was also an intern at his legal firm, who's in the film talking about that moment, and unfortunately, I was shocked about this in the early stages of the research as we talked to people who knew him and still like him, but said the guy was out of control about the wives of the friends of his wife, Mary's friends, friends of his wives, just kind of on it all the time. And he admits this in his, he keeps a journal while he's in rehab. And he calls it his 5th step journal. And he keeps track of all the women for a year that he slept with, and he ranks them by action. So intercourse is a 10, and something much less than intercourse is a 3, and a 4, and a 2. And he keeps track.
Yeah, there were dozens of them. And Mary Richardson Kennedy, who had an alcohol problem, I believe,
ended up
depression, hung herself in the back of their house.
Yeah.
We got to take a break.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to keep talking about Michael Kirk and Frontline's latest, which is a great documentary about RFK Jr., the rise of RFK Jr. This is Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support. So please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
We have a really nice thank you gift today, as Jim likes to say, at 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. We have for $10 a month, that's so our budget people can prepare, because as we know, our budget is a little challenged this year with no government money. For $10 a month, you get an annual online subscription to the New York Times. It's a news subscription. You get the breaking news, reviews, opinion blogs, and videos and stuff. You don't get the Wordle, you don't get the cooking, but you get all the news stuff, and a lot of it can keep you, if you're like hooked to your phone, as so many of us are. You get the news alerts every time there's some big breaking stories in the New York Times. And the New York Times, for my money, is doing a phenomenal job when other news organizations are on bended knee. They are hanging tough, and I think they're worth every cent. $10 a month or $120 all at once. The deadline for this subscription is 7 o'clock tonight. The number again is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know what other gift you get today?
What do you get?
The rise of RFK Jr.
That's right. The rise of RFK Jr.
These are the kinds of things that
right.
get funded.
Frontline.
They do. One of the great great things that America has, in my opinion. Frontline and Michael Kirk and whatever. Ed from Salem. Marjorie didn't like this when we read it the first time, so I'll read it again. Marjorie's exquisitely delightful.
That's right.
He said when he made, and Michael Kirk just applauded. So it's two people out of many who think that. Well, Jim and Marjorie, this is my other favorite one. We read this earlier too, but it's so great. This is Karina in Westport. Jim and Marjorie keep my husband in the basement gym for several hours a week. This is priceless. We're happy to do it. We do it for a lot of families. The number is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy. We're speaking with Frontline's Michael Kirk. The film airs tonight at 10 o'clock on PBS, also available on YouTube and the PBS app. The Rise of RFK Jr.
So RFK Jr. became the head of Health and Human Services, even though Caroline Kennedy said those horrible things about him, that he was a predator and all these kinds of things, totally unqualified. How did this whole vaccine obsession begin? Because he was obsessed before he became the head of HHS.
The word mercury was in his vocabulary, and because there was mercury in the fish in the Hudson River, he had his own body tested and had some unbelievable amount of mercury poisoning, and his whole thing was, remember, there's a sort of subtext to Bobby that you notice. He had a horrible thing happen to him when he was a child.
Yes.
He's very worried about children, and I think that's legitimate, and I think it's deep inside of him that kids are vulnerable and things happen to them. Big corporations, big pharma, they're out to get the kids of America and poison them. That's a huge leap from what apparently the scientific truth is. But anyway, he's hooked on this argument about mercury, and some women in a group, parents, but really women, activist women, who come to him and say, our sons and daughters have been poisoned by mercury, by a thing called thimerosal that goes in vaccines, and it's causing their autism. Bobby says, I don't need a cause, but he actually did need a cause. The river stuff was not getting any bigger, and it was fixed, and he reads the material, and he's very good. He's a lawyer. And a good one, apparently. And he reads the stuff and synthesizes it down, finds an argument, falls kind of in love with the argument, and sees the kids and likes the adulation. He's had a drug addiction. He's had apparently, I don't know if it's a sex addiction. That's not a diagnosis. It's a way of acting. And now some addiction to applause and a cause and a whatever, and that's how he gets into vaccines.
But no addiction to fact, and he gets in a lot of trouble, which you describe in the film, and as a result, I mean, Joe Biden, when he put out that list of the greatest disinformation sources, he was in the top 10, if I remember correctly. And maybe I knew this, but I don't think I did. I mentioned this to Marjorie this morning. When you report in the film that the reason he ran for president for that short period of time was social media companies, for once, in my opinion, did the right thing and banned him because he was such a source of dangerous misinformation, that he ran for president because they knew they couldn't ban a presidential candidate from social media platforms? That's the deal?
There were people who we interviewed who said that, and you could see that as the words were coming out of their mouth, they were still astonished, kind of gobsmacked by the idea that, yes, this is probably the first candidate they've ever heard of who ran for presidency because he'd been deplatformed. And remember, COVID was the gift that kept on giving to Bobby Kennedy. I don't mean to be super cynical about it, but here's a guy who's against vaccines. Here's a guy who's in the wilderness politically and otherwise because of this being a vaccine skeptic. I mean, he hit the wall financially and in lots of other ways because people didn't want anything to do with him. He gets out to Hollywood with his third wife, Cheryl Hines, the star of Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of the stars.
Gosh.
But they are pariah because of his stance on vaccines. So he's kind of out there looking for something to do, and social media, Instagram, they all become a place where he can be. And when COVID hits, Bobby Kennedy is ready to go. It was like, as we say in the film, it was his moment, and he was ready to get on the web, ready to get on any kind of Instagram things, anything. And when Biden got elected, Biden shut him down and turned him off. And those followers, many followers, you can watch the numbers go up in the film. The guy is bereft. He has nothing. Where can he go? He's got this cause. It's finally vaccines, but he can't do anything about it. So the best way he can get re-platformed by his lights is to run for president.
So you talk about how he loves the adulation, loves the applause. When he's standing next to Trump, he's kind of intoxicated by all the cheering and stuff that Trump gets. So I've often wondered, because he is obviously not a scientist. All these scientific people are upstanding saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he's just down these conspiracy rabbit holes in a whole bunch of ways. Sirhan didn't kill his father. Somebody else didn't. Right. Everybody's corrupt. So he really believes this stuff, you think?
I'm not in his head. I'm not in his head. I don't know what's in there. But I didn't mean that to be as sarcastic as it is. But his poor Bobby's head is an assassination of an uncle and a father, and 14 years of speedballs, and God knows what else.
And the worm,
maybe. There's some question of whether that was a real thing or not.
Yeah.
It was part of his divorce argument. Anyway, what was the question?
The question is,
does he believe this stuff?
Oh, does he believe it?
There's all this evidence on polio and MMR vaccines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I know.
And
But if you don't believe experts, and let's say your dad was an iconoclast, and you don't believe experts, and you've made a lifetime by pushing against big companies, oil companies, and people polluting rivers and fish and poisoning little kids, then I can understand that you might say, why would I trust them? I can read the science. I mean, he wrote a 4,700-word article for Rolling Stone because Jan Wenner let him, and Salon printed it as well. The doctors and the scientists and the CDC people and people like Dr. Paul Offit, a very renowned person, came after him. For 6 years, there was a public war, and finally, Salon says, no, we're retracting it all. That hit Bobby in the hardest way possible, not because the way his close friends tell us, not because he believed he was wrong, but because he believed he was ganged up on. And Bobby has, they say, these are his friends, he has a persecution kind of complex.
And he has a lot of anger, it seems to me, because the anger I saw when he was in the Senate speaking, it was like he was on
during
the
the confirmation hearing with the senators.
It almost looked like steroid rage to me. I don't know, but he was really on the edge of blowing up. I mean, what do we hear about that? Not steroids necessarily, but the anger.
A common byproduct of a lifetime of both being rejected and feeling, in an interesting way, superior and capable because of who you are and what's happened to you. And if somebody continues to attack you, and that somebody happens to be Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, and you've grown up in a world where famous people are, not to be kowtowed to in any way, you fight back. And he fights back.
Let me just say, we're barely touching the surface of this incredibly important film, considering the power this guy has. Before you go, though, one more quick. This doesn't have to be getting in his head, but you spoke to a lot of people about him, I'm sure. Obviously, a lot on the record, a lot off. Is there ever a moment where Kennedy realizes that what Trump stands for is almost without exception antithetical to everything his father, who he idolized, stood for?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. People who know him really well and talk to us say they thought, they advised him, don't do it. Do you know who this guy is? Don't do it. But Bobby's following his own heart here, and I think if he has what some people tell us, which is presidential ambitions for 28, what he has to do is learn how to not be Steve Bannon, but survive the proximity to the sun, and don't let your wings be made out of wax. And that's really, I think an awful lot of what he's doing is making a bargain that so that he can do what he believes he's put on the earth to do and fulfill in some way the destiny of his father from the 1968 thwarted campaign because of the assassination, which is go against a big institution, something like the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, the people who control the lives of little children and Americans who he sees in his own mind. Does he believe it? I think he might, that this is what he's representing and saving.
Well, let me say one last thing. In my editorial comment, you don't even have to respond to this. One of the things I took away from this is there's a similarity between how Kennedy, Jr., deals with the world and how Trump does. And I learned it better than I ever knew it in one of your films, The Choice, about the influence of Roy Cohn on young Donald Trump, is you just keep repeating the lie over and over again relentlessly, and it becomes the truth. And I think he learned a lesson, even though he didn't learn it from Cohn. Film is spectacular, like everything you touch. Congratulations to you and your colleagues and all the people at Frontline. And it's great to see you in the flesh.
Thank you.
Or at least in person, anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
This is as far as we go.
For now. Yeah, I mean, you never know. But Michael, it's great to see you.
Thank
Let's
you
leave
so
it at that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Michael Kirk.
We've been speaking with Michael Kirk, filmmaker of Frontline, behind their latest documentary, The Rise of RFK Jr., which airs tonight at 10 p.m. on PBS. It is a great documentary. You're at the edge of your seat the whole time. Available on YouTube and the PBS app. 10 o'clock tonight on PBS. Thank you, Michael.
See you, Michael.
Coming up after the quick break, we're going to speak with Christopher Kimball of the Milk Street Empire. He's out with yet another cookbook, Milk Street Shorts. Shorts as in short on ingredients, but big recipes on pizzazz. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy, listening to BPR and GBH 89.7, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference, but please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
Okay, so as you know, it's the only time during the year we ever read anything good about us. Here is Michael.
I know, but I love to.
I know, Michael in North Kingston. We count on GBH to keep us informed and enlightened during these troubling times. Marjorie and Jim are fantastic. I couldn't agree more. That's me, not him. Their on-point analyses of important topics gives me hope. Thank you. Well, that person, Michael, like so many of you, were kind enough to not only make a contribution, but spend a couple of minutes and leave us a note, which means a huge amount to us. You can do that, too, by calling 888-897-9424, going to gbhnews.org. It's really brief. And what's the gift or enticement, as you call it today, Marjorie?
The enticement is a subscription, a new subscription to the New York Times. $10 a month. You'll get the annual online subscription. Breaking news, reviews, opinions, blogs, videos, all of the news, not the cooking and the games, but all of the news. And that's a pretty good deal because I think the New York Times in these difficult times for the press is doing an unbelievable job. I want to mention a couple of other people that have said nice things. Nicholas in Hanover, I'm stepping up to support my local public radio because our nation's leaders have decided not to. Power to the press and power to the people. And then Jeanette from East Weymouth, I'm donating for freedom of speech. It's very important. So people are upset about what's going on. They don't like the fact that the government has said they don't like us, and we very much appreciate their generosity because we are now 100% dependent on the generosity of people who listen to this station and the private sponsors that we have. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy. We're streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Finally back at the library tomorrow. National security expert Juliette Kayyem, Sports Authority Trenni Casey, naturalist Sy Montgomery. And Friday, there's been a date change. Mayor Wu will join us for an hour on Friday noon in one of the library. Joined now in a slightly cleaned up Studio 3 by Christopher Kimball of Milk Street Kitchen. That was him laughing.
That was a joke.
Thank you. We appreciate your commentary. Milk Street TV, Milk Street Radio, which airs Sunday 3 right here on 89.7 GBH. And by the way, I don't mind the fact that Christopher Kimball, as you know, gave you a wok as a gift recently, gave me nothing. But I've gotten over it. He's out with yet another cookbook, which I do love, by the way. And yes, I have made recipes without changing them. It's called Milk Street Shorts. He'll explain that in a minute. It's recipes that pack a punch. Christopher Kimball, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, so I love this because I get overwhelmed. I'm not much of a cook, but I get overwhelmed by ingredients. So tell us the concept of shorts.
Concept is that great recipes have a little twist in them. They're not too complicated. They tend to be on the shorter side. But there's something about the combination of ingredients or a technique. So you take something that's good and it becomes kind of extraordinary because you do something to it. So whether that's making a biscuit or it's scrambled eggs or it's Sichuan chicken salad, which I brought today.
Oh
my goodness.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No, my new job is catering for Jim and Marjorie. Which I'm quitting my day job.
That's excellent, actually.
Let me tell you, there's
Outstanding.
no man that appreciates a good chicken salad more than Jim Browdy over there, or
Thank you
like
very
almost
much.
good anything.
We'll get to that in a minute.
He's a food man. I mean, he's been studying
I
this
thought
book
the
for
chicken
days.
salad would fit in with the whole studio.
Thank you, it does. No, and thank you,
Of
Aiden, for bringing
messy?
something.
Yeah.
Marjorie,
Well,
why don't you tell
sort of.
Christopher Kimball how the sesame garlic fried chicken tasted yesterday when I brought it in?
Jim
That's
did-
on page 5 of the cookbook.
Jim did bring in his homemade of your recipe. He's not changing anything anymore, and it was delicious. But you know what I loved about is the way you wrote at the beginning about how this good cooking brings joy to your household and makes you feel good, and how you have the perfect. What it does is give you the perfect combination of textures and flavors. So that was very happy to hear. Expand on that a little bit.
Well, I just wrote a piece called Food Wars, where everyone's trying to fix obesity in the country, get people to cook at home, be healthier. And my point was, we're at war. We're never going to win the war through education. That doesn't work. The only way to do it is just cook for other people. And every day, just like get up in the morning and just cook. And, you know, you make good food for other people, your family, your friends, your neighbors, whatever. It's sort of like one convert at a time. Because I look back over all the words that have been written about health and food and sugar and fat and this and that. And all the numbers show that things aren't getting better. Let me put it that way. So maybe all you got to do is keep slogging it out in the kitchen. I mean, I love to cook. But, you know, just cook good food for other people. And maybe that eventually is what wins. That sounds very 60s, and I'm a child of the 60s.
I love every one of those words. Is this in the cookbook, this great thing we're
Yes,
eating?
yeah.
What is it called again?
I think Sichuan chicken salad. Yeah.
Fabulous. It's spectacular.
Okay. Well, it's not only fabulous, it tastes really good and it feels really healthy. I won't have to eat my lousy pepperoni pizza that's over there on the floor.
I didn't even know you had it.
Wait, is this cold? Oh, it is. It's got plastic wrap on it.
It does.
By the way, pizza.
That is. And why did I send you a walk exactly?
Exactly.
Jim, I have to make
the
up
walk's
for
in
this.
the mail. I know exactly.
I shouldn't have the plastic wrap or the paper plate.
Before we take a
apologize.
pledge break, you're going to continue. I decided, do you like quizzes? Marjorie hates quizzes.
I
Do you
hate
like
quizzes.
quizzes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. What you are a machine, and I mean that in the best sense of the word. You can turn out a cookbook, every one of which I've cooked from, and I did learn my lesson. For those who are new to the show, what I was referencing is about a year or two ago, Christopher had a cookbook, and I changed one of the recipes because obviously I can improve it. It was inedible. And I made it then the way you did, and it was perfect. Okay, I have a list of your last 10 cookbooks. You have 60 seconds to name as many of them as you possibly can. Go ahead.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, good.
New rules, Tuesday night, cookish, simple, shorts,
No, that was
Mediterranean.
a couple of years ago, no.
What?
No. Keep going. You have 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Cook what you have.
Yeah.
Fast and slow.
Yeah, that's actually-
vegetables.
He's getting them.
I'm getting there.
No, cookish was like years ago.
The
Good.
baking. Our
Okay,
baking book.
time is up.
How many did I get?
You got like 3.
He's got
Backroads
about
Italy,
9.
Bakes, the all-purpose cookbook for every day of the year. I love that one. Simple, I love that one.
All right.
Noodles, etc., etc., etc. They're all terrific and also very clear for those of us who are recipe dependent, which I am. Cookbook is great.
Okay, it is.
We're going to take a quick break.
We have to take a quick break. Right back with Christopher Kimball and more about shorts, his latest cookbook.
Live, local, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Jim Braude, Marjorie Egan, Boston Public Radio. It's here on GBH Radio because of your support. Now's your chance to keep the conversation going. Give online at gbhnews.org or call 888-897-9424.
Okay, let me give that number again, 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. This is the 5th day of our fundraiser, which we have a pledge break, as we call them, pledges, whatever we call them, that we do a few times a year so we don't have commercials all the time, which would be really horrible for you and for us. And this pledge drive is particularly fraught because the government has taken away our money that we used to have, a small part of it, but was still significant, especially to support people who could not donate for one reason or another. They just couldn't afford it. So anyway, whatever you can give, if you can, would be really great right now. And we are offering $10 a month. This is our thank you gift for today, an annual online subscription to the New York Times, which means you can get the breaking news on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer as it happens, reviews, opinion blogs, and videos, everything except the cooking. I'm talking to Christopher Kimball here, except the cooking site and the word games like Wordle. And we wanted to thank the people that took the time to donate and took the time to say nice things about me and Jim and this station and NPR in general. Here's Kelly and Wellesley. We rely on Jim and Marjorie and GBH to keep us informed on important local issues. We strongly support public media as government support has been taken away. Sherry in Wakefield said she got hooked up during the pandemic, and it has become a staple. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
I think it's tomorrow's last day, right?
I don't know.
It is. I think it is. Is it the last day? Yes, it is. So that being the case, it's time for me to start doing my procrastination speech. I'm guessing the vast majority of you have decided you want to make a contribution, particularly now. You're generous in all times, but it turns out you're even more generous now when the need is greater. Don't wait, because there's nothing worse than wanting to do something that matters to you, and then it's over and it's too late. If you're going to give today, give tomorrow. I'd say do it now. Marjorie, we haven't talked about this at all. Marjorie loves it when you do it during the show because she is of the opinion that we get credit somehow.
We do.
We don't. In any case,
I saw one of the fundraiser guys in the hallway. He told me what our show brought in.
Okay, well then fine. How'd we do? Well?
We did well.
Thank you. So we want to do weller, is what Marjorie is trying to say. So
you want to get the gold star for fundraising.
897-9424, gbhnews.org. The gift today is great. And frankly, who gives a damn about the gift? If you care about the station, New York Times or not, hopefully you'll make a contribution. It's simple, it's fast, it feels good to do it too. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR 89.7, Jim Braude, Marjorie Egan. We're speaking with Christopher Kimball. The latest cookbook is terrific. It's called Milk Street Shorts.
Okay, so
I have another. No, don't leave the cookbook.
I'm not leaving the cookbook.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I want to talk about the whole pizza section. You have a huge pizza section in the back. With tell us a little bit about some of those recipes.
Well, my contribution to the book, one of them was, the problem with pizza is shaping the dough, right? Because you try to stretch it out and it snaps back. And it's just really hard, falls all over the place. So I took a flatbread recipe which uses yogurt. So I put a quarter cup of yogurt in my pizza recipe with some olive oil as well. And that, I just did it again Friday night. It makes a dough you can actually stretch out, even if you've never done it before, and which really solves the problem of pizza, right? So, and you can also do this in a skillet. We do have lots of skillet pizzas. You can just get a cast iron pan and do it in a pan. But yogurt, which they use in flatbreads in the Middle East very often, solves the problem of a hard-to-manage pizza dough. So,
and then you get all these little things to add on them, and upside down, that kind of thing too.
We have upside-down pizzas. We have right-side-up pizzas. We have pizzas on a train in the rain with a goat on a boat, whatever you want. Yes.
So when you get proficient, I mean, I've said this to you before, but when you get proficient, you can do these things pretty quickly.
Yeah, you could do it quickly, and also you realize what's important and what's not important. So, of course, if you're not sure which is which, that can be problematic. But with pizza, you can put anything you want on it. I mean, I grill pizza all the time, flip it over, top it, put it to the side, and put a pan on top and let it cook. And that's super simple, and it's better than doing it in the oven. So, but, raclette, for example, cheese, has that raclette and some prosciutto, for example, as a topping is just fabulous. So you don't have to stick to tomato sauce and mozzarella.
By the way, your insecurity about cooking. I realized the other thing I made last night was, I forgot to bring it, chili crisp, chili crisp peanut noodles with bok choy, which was spectacular. It's so easy. It's ridiculous. Try something. Show a little boldness, a little something. Go for the something. Gold.
I will.
Can we change gears? By the way, the book is great. It's just out. It's called
It's gorgeous as usual.
And by the way,
the photography as usual.
Okay, fine.
Unbelievable.
Okay, some of the headlines are shorter, shortest, and it's obvious what that means. Short-ish, ISH. So it's got all kinds of levels in terms of times and ingredients. I read a thing the other. I don't even know if you want to talk about this, so feel free not to. I subscribe to the magazine. I am a subscriber, so I'm searching for recipes all the time. TV, radio, digital, social.
No. He's huge.
And I was going to ask you why, but that's insulting. I mean, your Milk Street deal is explosive. I mean, it's exploding all over the place. What do you think you're doing that separates you from so many of your competitors that's got these numbers to be astronomically high? I mean, seriously.
I think seriously, we do what we like to do. We don't start with what we think the customer will want. We always start with what we want.
So do we, by the way.
Yeah, seriously, you have to do it that way, because when people start, like on social media, if people start complaining, or you can't listen to that. You just this is what I wanted to say, so I said it. I did a thing recently about bay leaves. I think bay leaves are a complete scam. They don't add any flavor at all, because they're 5 years old and they're dried out.
I was just going to say, mine are like 20 years old.
I think my mother willed her box of bay leaves. So it's I'm going this is a complete scam. It's just forget about it. So I think that people are looking for a voice. They're looking for somebody who believes in what they're saying. I mean, it's the whole thing about authenticity. That's the only way to get heard, is to have something to say you actually believe it, because people can tell in 2 seconds if you're just making the stuff up or you actually mean it. And even if you're annoying, and I sometimes have been accused of that, that's okay, as long as people go oh yeah, he's convinced this is what he believes, and he has enough experience to back it up. That's all.
Well, that's great.
You do the same thing.
Well, sort of. And annoying the same thing, too.
Yes.
So you're also doing these trips all around the world that the number seems to be expanding a lot. And it started just a few years ago, right? Am I right about that?
We just started 2 years ago. Yeah. We did it with a group out of London called Culinary Backstreets that handles some of the technical stuff. But we do 10 or 12 a year now. The islands of Venice. We have a bunch in Greece. We're going to Indonesia. We have a whole bunch.
What happens on one of these things?
Well, it's based on our own travel. So it's a place we've been, okay? Like we've been to Oaxaca, we've been to Mexico City, we've been to wherever, Cotswolds, and we know the people there. We start there. My culinary or my education, Rosie, director, goes out, and she meets with the people we know, or I know, or my editor knows, and then starts building a trip around that, and tries to get you to places and do things you don't normally see. It's not like, the 5 most expensive restaurants in Venice. It's going to be on the islands where nobody goes. So we want to give you a sense of what's really going on there, sort of behind the scenes. Get into people's homes and cook with them instead of just their restaurants, that kind of stuff. So yeah, and they sell out in a week or two, most of those. Yeah.
That's all on the website too, which is Milk Street. What's the website? Milk Street what?
Milk Street, 177milkstreet.com.
Yeah. 177milkstreet.com. So I go on your website about 2 weeks ago when my younger daughter convinces me that I got to buy an air fryer. And by the way, I was using recipes for the air fryer. You don't sell an air fryer. Why? I hope you're not anti-air fryer. It's been one of the most exciting 2-week periods of my life. Are you anti-air fryer? You can be honest.
Most exciting 2-week period.
It is. I'm being honest. Really? You said be honest.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm anti-air fryer.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Here's why. I don't like appliances that I would use twice a month. That's the problem. If you use it all the time.
I haven't used my ice cream maker in 11 years, and I still keep it. So you get rid of that. Go ahead, air fryer. Yeah.
No, mine's in the shed now.
Yeah.
But I use that 5 times a year. No, like a toaster oven, you're going to use all the time. A blender, a food processor, a standing mixer, a toaster. They're all things I'm going to use. Some people use electric rice cookers. They use that all the time. But I'm not going to. I know the air fryer does a good job on certain things, but I'm just not going to use it.
Wow.
They have them in a lot of the new ovens with the
convection thing
or a sous vide thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Jim said a sous vide.
You don't like sous vide either?
Sous vide.
You know what? I can take a chicken. I can put it in water. I can bring the water up to 170 degrees and let it sit for 45 minutes and it's cooked. I don't need a sous vide for that.
Okay, I only spent $150 on the sous vide too.
Yeah,
so
and they don't take up that much.
No, and I hear about these things for weeks.
Then you get wet, soggy turkey breast.
I have a question. We've heard about the air fryer like for weeks now.
Okay,
before
fine.
that was a
Go
sous
ahead,
vide for
next.
weeks, and all these cooking things he does. But we mentioned Bailey's before. One of the things that people talk about, they're frustrated when they have to get herbs. They get the basil, they get the whatever they get, and then they never use it, and it rots in the refrigerator. You can freeze those things, can't you?
Yeah, the problem is getting the good stuff to start with.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, sitar, which is a classic Middle East ingredient, which is a little bit like wild thyme. I mean, some of it's great, but if you get the sort of the powdered stuff from a box store, it's not the same thing at all. So I think starting with the good stuff. But if you get whole spices rather than ground, like with some things, like cumin seeds, et cetera, you can toast them for 2 minutes in a skillet and then let them cool and then grind them yourself. And you'll get 10 times the flavor. So if there is a whole spice version of it,
if you get a basil plant,
well, a basil plant, you grow in your kitchen and snip it off. But basil,
you're not getting a basil plant.
No, I'm just asking if you can.
Really?
I think you can freeze it though.
This was
am
a
I wrong?
philosophical question.
Am I wrong about freezing the basil and the rosemary?
Okay.
Well,
fine.
rosemary maybe. I don't think freezing bagels.
Okay, I don't
basil's
care
gonna
about the
work out too
basil.
well.
A lot of people care about basil.
No,
Jim.
I don't care about freezing it. How many cookbooks are in the works right now that are going to be released in the next year? Or
We actually have fewer. We've decided to spend more time on fewer books now.
Oh.
So we're doing a book that has to do with a sort of the science of cooking, but in a different way. But we're going to spend, a year and a half working on just that one book. So I think we want to slow down and really put as much time as we can into every book. So
this one's a really good one.
We should mention you have a great radio show every week. Is it 3:00 right here? Is it 3:00 on Sundays?
I have no idea.
Okay, good.
I think it's at 3:00 here on Sundays. I thought it used to be at 4, but now it's at 3. But anyway, Christopher Kimball, the great book is Milk Street Shorts, and I think it is unintimidating for those of us who are intimidated, as well as people that cook all the time like Jim.
Thank you.
And catch Milk Street Radio Sundays. I think it's at 3 right here
It
at
is at
89.7 GBH. Coming up at the 1 o'clock news, animal
see you,
surrender
by
is
the way.
skyrocketing.
Congratulations.
We're going to talk to a
Yet again.
vet from the Animal Rescue League. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listen to BPR at 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Boston Public Radio today was made possible by our listener contributors and local businesses. That support is the only way to keep Boston Public Radio on the radio. So please do your part by giving on this next to last day of our fall membership drive online at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Melissa Jones.
We've got a really great thank you for you right now. It's an annual online subscription to the New York Times, and it's yours with a contribution of $10 a month to GBH. You're going to love this because it's unlimited, anytime, anywhere access to all of the New York Times news content. You can access this subscription on a smartphone, tablet, web browser. You can do simultaneous logins across the devices, so you switch from your phone to your laptop, no problem. You stay logged in, and you don't have to worry about that five free article limit. Words are hard. Make it easy. Call right now. Give $10 a month or $120 all at once, and we'll get you this online subscription to the New York Times. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424. And that goes away at 7 o'clock tonight, so act now.
And this is the next to last day of our membership drive. So each goal so incredibly important here to keep us on track to finish strong here. We've got 14 more people we're looking to hear from in the next just about 5 minutes left to go in this hour. Just 14 more people. We can do it, but we need to hear from you. Boston Public Radio fans, if this is appointment listening for you, make that gift of support right now. If you have already done so, thank you so much. And if you've yet to do so, now is the time. Help us reach this goal. Again, 14 more people to hear from in the next about now 4 minutes here. 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
As you know, Congress eliminated federal funding for all public media stations, including GBH. GBH is free to everyone, regardless of their ability to pay. Moving forward, the only way for us to survive the funding cuts is with financial support from the community, people like you. If you're able to give, please do so now. Your financial support is essential on the road ahead. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
Thank you so much to Rick out in Georgia. We also heard from Stephen in Providence, Rhode Island, making a gift of support, and Maureen in Melrose helping us chip away at that goal. Make your gift right now. Join them by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
This is an urgent call out to all fans and loyalists of GBH. Participation from everyone listening is essential during this membership drive. So we're looking to hear from new members. Why don't you start a monthly sustaining gift of just $5 or $10 a month? It makes a significant difference. If you haven't given in a while, now's a great time for you to make that gift, and we'd love to have you back with us. Sustaining members, hey, why don't you add $1 or $2 to that sustaining membership? I'm thinking about doing that myself. I'm a sustainer. Let's do it. Let's go for it. The federal funding may be gone, but we are strong thanks to you. We ask you to join in and meet us in the moment. Give now, gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
That's right. Please support GBH by becoming a monthly sustainer. This is the best way to support the station, especially right now. A recurring gift of $10 or $15 per month means we aren't living pledge drive to pledge drive, and it takes just a few minutes to set up. It's automatically deducted from your bank account or credit card, and you'll be enrolled in no time. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
We're making great headway to the goal. We're looking for just 7 more people in the next couple of minutes so we can wrap up this hour on goal. Meeting that goal is very important to keep us on track for the drive, which ends tomorrow. So we're looking forward to hearing from you now at gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And be sure to ask for the online subscription to the New York Times when you make your gift of support. You'll be helping us reach that goal. And now we're down to just 5 more people. This is fantastic. This is how it works. It's call by call, contribution by contribution, coming together to support all of your listening here. Ask for the New York Times online subscription as our thanks for that gift of $10 per month when you call 888-897-9424 or ask for it when you give online at gbhnews.org.
Support for GBH comes from you. And Rockland Trust Bank, committed to helping individuals and local businesses work towards their financial goals by providing financial advice and resources. More at rocklandtrust.com. Rockland Trust Bank, where each relationship matters. Member FDIC. And Revision Energy, a solar company and a Mitsubishi Electric heating and air conditioning contractor, offering customers the option to combine a solar array with a heat pump system to manage their heating and cooling at home. RevisionEnergy.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on Hour 3 of BPR, not live from the Boston Public Library, though we will be tomorrow. It's all things animal in the 1 o'clock hour. Sometimes pet ownership isn't always puppies and rainbows. Sometimes it's massive vet bills. First up this hour, we'll check in with the Animal Rescue League of Boston on how cash-strapped Bostonians are navigating pet ownership when the going gets rough. Surrenders of pets are sadly on the rise.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then we'll open the phone and text lines. What lengths would you go to, or have you gone to take care of the furry companion in your life? Is there a limit to the number of mortgages you take out before you surrender? Have you considered ditching your spouse in favor of taking care of Fido? Call or text Pets and You next. Hour number 3 of BPR 89.7 GBH.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. brokered Israel-Hamas ceasefire in Gaza is holding despite recent violence. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports on Vance's remarks in Israel today.
Over the weekend, Israel announced it had launched new strikes on Gaza, accusing Hamas of breaching the ceasefire. Hamas denied any involvement. Acknowledging the new violence, Vance accused some in the news media of having a, quote, desire to root for failure.
There's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire. This is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time.
Vance also said that if Hamas does not cooperate in the ceasefire process, they will be, quote, obliterated. Vance was joined by Middle East Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, both of whom helped negotiate the ceasefire. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
The federal government's been shut down for 21 days now. The head of the Farm Action Fund, Joe Maxwell, says farmers are feeling it.
We have been farming for the last several years, and but for government subsidies, government programs, we would have been in the negative. So we rely on government to keep us in the black.
Thousands of workers are not getting paid during the shutdown. As of yesterday, they included some 1,400 people at the agency that oversees the country's nuclear stockpile. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is siding with the administration's efforts to deploy the National Guard to Portland. Oregon Public Broadcasting's Conrad Wilson has more on yesterday's ruling.
The decision overturns one of two temporary restraining orders issued by a lower court judge blocking the federalization and deployment of the National Guard to Oregon. Jessica Levinson, a professor at Loyola Law School, says the majority of the appeals court found the president's authority shouldn't be questioned over concerns such as an inability to carry out federal law.
What a majority of the panel concluded is that the district court judge had essentially substituted her judgment for the president's judgment in an inappropriate way.
In a dissenting opinion, an appeals court judge warned the majority was eroding constitutional protections, such as the right to protest the government and state sovereignty. For NPR News, I'm Conrad Wilson in Portland.
People across the chess community are expressing shock online at reports that 29-year-old American chess grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky has died. The Charlotte Chess Center in North Carolina, where Naroditsky was a head coach, announced his death yesterday in a social media statement. In a final video posted to his YouTube channel on Friday, Naroditsky told viewers he was back better than ever.
I've been sort of taking kind of a creative break, deciding, future avenues of content.
Cause of death is still unknown. The former child prodigy born to Jewish immigrants from Ukraine and Azerbaijan is being remembered today as a highly respected teacher and live streamer. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. There's a new incentive program for private defense attorneys as the state's court system grapples with a backlog of criminal cases. Since Memorial Day, a dispute with the state over pay has prompted many private attorneys called bar advocates to stop taking on indigent clients. Longtime bar advocate Sean Delaney says the incentive does nothing to solve the pay issue, which he says has been ignored for years.
In my opinion, it's another collusion effort by CPCS and the state legislature to keep rates for bar advocates below a fair wage and to hasten the demise of indigent defense work in Massachusetts.
CPCS, the Committee for Public Counsel Services, says it remains committed to advocating for higher pay rates for bar advocates. And if you're driving around Worcester and see a police cruiser behind you with its blue lights flashing, it does not mean you're about to be pulled over. For the next 6 months, Worcester police officers will leave the blue lights on their cruisers turned on. The Telegram and Gazette reports they're doing it to increase the visibility of their vehicles and hopefully deter crimes and traffic violations, among other things, from happening. The program began this past Sunday. In sports, the Bruins are back on home ice tonight. They host the Florida Panthers. The Celtics open the season at home tomorrow. They host the 76ers. Sunny, mid-60s today. Rain, maybe some thunder overnight, low 54. Looks like more rain on tap tomorrow, high 65. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for dedicated and forward-thinking individuals to join their growing team. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Welcome to hour number 3 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Braude and Marjorie Egan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We are finally back at the library tomorrow. National security expert Juliette Kayyem will join us. Our sports authority Trenni Casey, naturalist Sy Montgomery. Michelle Wu was supposed to join us next week, but she is actually going to join us this Friday at the library from noon to 1. So if you're in the neighborhood, we'd love to see you. Hello again, Jim.
Marjorie just hiccuped.
I did.
On the air.
I just ate all that
Violates
food
our
for Christopher
contract,
Kimball.
I think, actually.
Chicken salad.
So
cookies.
the cost of pet care, I think
Better
almost
than
all
my
of you
pizza.
know this, has skyrocketed. And when coupled with rising costs just about everywhere else you look, from housing to food, it means more people are giving up. This is one of the saddest things ever. We're giving up their pets because they simply can't afford them anymore. Join now to talk about pet care and costs with Animal Rescue League CEO, Dr. Edward Schettino. Doctor, it's good to see you again. Thanks so much for being here. And Chief Animal Welfare Officer, Cheryl Traversi. It's great to see you too, Cheryl. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Well, let's start with you, Doctor. Why are people surrendering their pets?
Well, we've faced at the Animal Rescue League, we've seen recently that when people struggle, pets are struggling as well. And everything that Jim just mentioned, the world has changed a little bit and things are getting more expensive. And so people have to make decisions every single day what they're going to prioritize. Unfortunately, pets are part of that equation. And sometimes people have to make the difficult decisions that they need to surrender their pets. However, there's good news. The Animal Rescue League of Boston, we provide multiple resources for people to really help people keep their pets in their homes.
Like what?
Well, we provide temporary pet housing for individuals that need to or want to get resources for themselves. This is either housing instability, people are in situations that need to get hospitalization or other things, and they have the difficult decision that they need to make, either getting the help for themselves and surrendering their pet or not getting the help. So we provide a resource that allows people to get help for themselves, letting us take care of their pets temporarily and reuniting folks. We offer low-cost veterinary care to help people that are facing barriers, trying to look at all the barriers people are facing and decrease them or eliminate them as much as we can. There's just a few of the programs that we have.
Cheryl, before we get bring into the conversation, what does it mean to be the Chief Animal Welfare Officer? What do you do exactly?
I try to kind of take a look at all of the problems that are facing pet owners and figure out how to align programs to solve some of those problems. So a lot of what we're here to talk about today are those resources that we'll get into a little further.
So let's talk about the problem
soon.
a little bit more. The cost of living didn't surprise me. Some of the things that I read about you guys in your own literature and in Globe stories you've been featured in, Doctor, the veterinary shortage, which obviously by definition is going to lead to costs. When I came in this morning to our staff meeting, I said one of these stories said there are only 33 veterinary schools in America. That's obviously wrong. Can you fact check that? It's right. Why are there so few veterinary schools when the demand is so high, Cheryl?
Well, do you want to take this? Do you feel like you have an answer to why? I mean, basically, I think that it's a critical need. I'm unsure why it's not expanding, but
it's currently expanding. Veterinary schools are increasing their class sizes. There are more schools becoming certified in the country and out of the country. So there's a need that is being met. It's going to take time for it to build up over time. But what we're finding in our organization is that individuals that live in communities that have barriers, they're disproportionately being affected by the shortage of veterinarians. Because it's supply and demand. Decreased veterinarians, the cost of veterinary care goes up. Communities that are already struggling to finding pet care or affording pet care are left out of the equation, are left out of the conversation. And what are people supposed to do? And so at the Animal Rescue League, we're looking at how do we become proactive versus reactive. Why are we there to take people's pets when they can't afford them and then try to rehome their pet and find a better home, in air quotes? There isn't a better home. What can we do to help keep pets in their current home?
Exactly. You know, we long before you were here, we've discussed through the years 20 times we've done segments on the show, about 100 times, about how people feel their dog or their cat or their ferret is as much a part of their family as their damn kid is, and in some cases more than their kid is.
We're going to ask
Don't talk to my parents.
Depending on the kids.
We're going to ask our listeners
we are
why would they rather get rid of the dog or the spouse?
I want to stay on the problem. We know what the answer to that one is, unfortunately. Let's stay on this just for, what's the average cost a year for, one of our colleagues, I don't think she wants us to mention her name, has a cat she's totally in love with, and it's beautiful. The cat has to have a tooth pulled $5,000, she was told by the vet. How much does the average person spend every year to take care of a dog or a cat?
Yeah. I think the first year of care for a pet owner is often the highest number until an emergency comes up.
Yeah.
So the first year you can count on somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 for a dog. It's a little less for a cat. But when an emergency strikes, right, you're at the mercy of emergency care, and those prices are just higher.
Are you among people, you mentioned if there's an emergency or an accident or something, which can be insanely expensive. Are you pro-insurance people at the Animal Rescue League? You
absolutely.
are.
Yeah, we speak to our adopters about insurance daily.
And how discriminating should the customer be? I have to say, both my daughters have dogs who are the sweetest things in the world, and one of our gifts to them is we pay for the insurance. It doesn't. I don't want to say the name because maybe it's my ineptitude. It doesn't pay for much, I should say. I mean, we have far more rejections. So, is there an approach to insurance? Either of you can take this that a pet. Do you call them owners? By the way, what do you call? Are we owners? Or are you not like? It's
controversial.
Yeah.
I know it is. So
you are you're a pet family, but we do say pet owners.
Owners,
and that is
You're the
good.
pet grandpa.
Okay, so how are you discriminating insurance consumer?
There's a variety of pet insurance companies out there. There's more and more that are coming on market. We recommend people take a look at all of them and take a look at their pet. Do you have a purebred pet or not? If you have a purebred pet, what is covered for that particular breed by the different insurance companies or not? Pre-existing conditions. There's so many. And just as people for themselves do their due diligence, we recommend doing the same. It's not a one-size-fits-all for pet insurance by any means.
Okay, one last thing about problems, which I have one more. Oh, good. You go first.
About costs. I mean, from what I've read, one of the reasons why the costs have gone up so much is private equity is buying all these vet practices, and they jack up the prices.
Well, that's true. But again, that's something we can't control.
Yeah.
What we can control is our organization is being a resource for people that have pets that want to keep them by providing low cost, no cost options for individuals.
Well, let me tell you one other thing you don't control. I think you're trying to get involved in this, but our legislators who represent us could control other numbers in preparation for you guys coming that I read. Only 39% of apartment rentals accept pets, and only 7% of those don't have limitations on weight or breed. So, I mean, I know there are a lot of people out there who said, I want a dog barking all night long next door. What is the position of your organization here again, Cheryl, in terms of whether landlords sort of as blanket things, 61% it sounds like, can ban pets? Because it's a wonderful story, I think it was in the Globe, about a woman you guys helped, Monique, and dealt with, who essentially had to get out of an apartment because she couldn't afford it, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And the only place she could find, at least immediately, until you helped her transition through this, was a place that didn't allow pets. I mean, it's crushing. So do you guys, are you involved in any legislative efforts?
Absolutely.
You are?
So ARL is involved in advocacy, and we support bills to support pet owners and rights of animals. And we have one right now having to deal with housing that we're in support of, and that is a way that people can support us, is by reaching out and supporting those kinds of bills.
Good. So do you support the 5-month vacation for the legislature, Doctor? No, it's a joke. We're not going to get you involved in that.
Weren't you trying to ban pit bulls a few years ago?
Well, I don't know if we should do this today. I was, actually, but I don't want to get these people angry at me, 'cause they seem like really nice.
Pivot.
Let's take a break early, and then we'll get back to the good side of this.
We're talking with folks from the Animal Rescue League of Boston CEO Dr. Edward Schettino, and Chief Animal Welfare Officer Cheryl Traversi. ARLBoston.org, ARL, Animal Rescue League, Boston.org is the number if you have any questions you want to ask them about. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Quick pledge break, and then we'll be back.
Think about it. For 3 hours every day, you get to hear thought-provoking conversations on local, national, and international issues for free. It only happens with your support, so please support your Boston Public Radio listening by calling 888-897-9424 or giving online at gbhnews.org.
Here we go, Marjorie.
Okay, the number again is 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. As you know, the government has taken away our funding, which means that we are more dependent than ever on the generosity of the people who are listening right now. And we had a lot of nice comments today, Jim.
We do.
A lot of nice comments. Nancy from Ashburton says she listens to us every day, every chance she gets. Michelle from Danvers says she's a longtime listener, frequent texter, occasional caller, and now a sustaining member. Thank you very much, she says to you and me. That's Michelle from Danvers. And we have, I shouldn't call them enticements. We're going to call them now thank you gifts.
Yeah, that's what we call them.
Our thank you gift today is for $10 a month. You can get an annual online subscription to the New York Times, which is, people always ask where do they want to go for factual news. Well, I would recommend the New York Times for factual news. They're hanging tough in a time when the long guns are out for the free press in America. What you get for $10 a month, unlimited, anytime, anywhere access to all New York Times content except for the cooking stuff and the games. You get all the breaking news, you get the reviews, you get the opinion blogs, you get the videos, you get it all, and you can get it on your phone. And if you're a news junkie, everything that happens is a big deal. You will hear about it, not quite instantaneously, but close on your phone. So that's 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
You know, the reason, I've never said this, the reason why I don't like when you call it an enticement, because you shouldn't have to entice people if they listen to the station and they like what our colleagues are doing, as you say, from dawn to dusk and beyond.
Christopher Kimball, we turn him on.
I know.
3 o'clock show on Sundays.
Well, and who do we have before that? Michael Kirk from Frontline,
which is
one of the
tonight,
most brilliant
10 o'clock.
documentarians in America
RFK
at the great
Jr.
Frontline. That's what those dollars support, and it's needed now more than ever. So the New York Times thing is great, but you shouldn't need the New York Times to get you to contribute. If you can afford it, and if you can, you give whatever you can. If you can't do $10 a month, do $5 even once. If you can afford a lot more, do it for those people who can't afford it right now. Sort of like the Animal Rescue League sounds like it does with pets kind of thing. Be a good person and be a supportive person if you can at 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. Here's Kelly and Wellesley. We rely on Jim and Margie and GBH to keep us informed on important local issues. Donna in Cambridge, I so appreciate Jim and Margie's ability to bring the key players in the state on the air. That's Marjorie. I have nothing to do with that. Nancy from Ashburnham. I love Marjorie and Jim. I listen to them every chance I get when I'm in my car. And I lost a note from the woman that says her husband stays in the basement at the gym because of us. And we really know you appreciate that.
She gets rid of him for 4 hours.
897-9424, gbhnews.org. Welcome back to BPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. We're continuing our discussion with the Animal Rescue League of Boston CEO Dr. Edward Schettino and Chief Animal Welfare Officer Cheryl Traversi. And the website, as Marjorie said a minute ago, is arlboston.org. Is that right? Right. arlboston.org.
You know, I think of the times I've been to vets over the years with dogs, and even during COVID, we had to go to the vet in the parking lot. You know, we were in a parking lot over in Dorchester with one of my kids' dogs. And I've loved these people, the men and the women that have been vets. But I'm curious about why such lovely people as vets would have such a high suicide rate. I thought it was because they felt bad about hurting the dogs or something.
No, the veterinary profession is an interesting profession. It's a difficult profession to get into.
Harder than medical school.
It's harder than medical school to get into, a limited number of veterinary schools.
Very smart people.
And it's most folks, I'm a veterinarian also, most folks that go to veterinary school have a special personality. And
what does it mean, like super type A kind of thing? Or what
wonderful and amazing personalities.
Okay.
Just like myself.
Yeah.
And very, very smart, of course. Of course. And as you probably know, when you bring your pet to the veterinarian, you hold your veterinarians maybe to a higher standard than your physician. When you go to your doctor, when do you get the results of your x-ray or your blood work? How do you receive those results? When you go to your veterinarian, when do you expect to get those results? So the pressure on veterinarians is a lot.
Yeah.
And veterinarians have access to drugs that when animals we have the benefit of being able to euthanize pets for end-of-life care. And so there's availability. So it's a difficult profession to get into, a difficult profession to stay into. And I want to just switch a little bit. And veterinarians, a lot of communities don't have veterinarians in them. Because veterinary school is expensive. And so having a veterinary practice, you need to generate an income to pay off your veterinary school debts. So there's certain communities that have a lot of barriers in Boston that were called veterinary care deserts. There aren't any veterinary hospitals, regardless if you have.
Is it true there's only one in New England? Tufts is the only vet school?
The only veterinary school. The only veterinary school in New England.
That's unbelievable.
Correct.
Yeah, Tufts the only school. Yeah. But the MSPC, the place out on South Huntington Avenue, that's a hospital.
It's a hospital.
Right? Yeah.
It's a
I'm
hospital.
talking about schools that get people into the profession.
It's the only veterinary school in New England. It's an amazing.
You know what the other thing is? Well, can I ask you, because you work, I mean, all the people who do this, not just vets. I haven't thought about this till Marjorie and I were in, our colleagues were talking about it this morning. You really treating two entities.
Yeah.
You're not just treating the pet, but the anxiety. I mean, you really made a wonderful point. I mean, how you feel when you're getting the information on this helpless creature that is totally, I don't mean helpless in a pejorative way, but it's totally dependent on you. You got to treat the human and you got to and treat the animal, right? Which is a colossal burden.
Yeah, incredibly true. And what we hope for those that work with us is that it's also incredibly rewarding, because when someone hasn't been able to solve a problem with their pet, when someone hasn't been able to get the care that they need to be able to provide that, is incredibly rewarding. The stories are amazing from some of our low-cost veterinary programs.
Where do you get your money, by the way?
From people like you.
Set them up.
Is there any government money at all?
No, we receive no federal, no state dollars. All of our income, all of our revenue, all of our dollars come from supporters. We have a $15 million operating budget per year.
Wow.
We help over 20,000 animals a year.
Wow.
We are a 126 years old organization. We have helped over 6.2 million animals since our founding. So every year we have to raise dollars to support the animals and the families that we care for.
Aren't you building some expansive things so you can provide even better, whatever?
Very exciting.
What are you doing?
Our building in the south end of Boston, we're the only animal welfare organization in downtown Boston. We've been in our current facility in the south end since 1950s. It no longer meets the needs of the animals and the people. And so we are rebuilding. We broke ground in June. We have exciting news. We had a $10 million capital campaign that we reached. We've now extended our target to $12 million. And now we are looking for folks to help us get over the next hump to get to the $12 million, the goal. So we're very excited for the state-of-the-art facility.
And where's it going to be again?
And right on the south end, Tremont Street in the south end.
So
Okay, you go ahead.
I was going to ask you, is there some unspoken rule? Because when I've had dogs, that were on their last legs, as it were, and brought them in, the vet never says to me, put the dog down. They always say things like, well, there's a lot going on with your dog there, a lot going on there. And I said, what do you mean? And well, there's a lot going on. And I know they're kind of telling me without telling me that really the dog is suffering and should probably, and I think it's very hard for people.
Every question you've asked is about death. And
I'm sorry.
I mean, frequently,
but is that the rule? You're not supposed to say it's time.
There's no rule.
There's no rule.
But it's a journey.
Yeah.
You may not be on the same journey. The veterinarian, I think, as a health professional, is to help people understand from their pet's perspective what's probably best for their pet.
Yes.
And bring people on that journey. We offer people that end-of-life care. Folks that may not have a veterinarian that notice that their animal may be suffering and has a poor quality of life. Folks can call us. We have 3 locations, the South End in Boston, in Dedham, and Brewster on the Cape. Folks can call us for end-of-life care and bring in their pets, and we can help them with that transition with their pet.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. I mean, so many holes you guys are filling. I'm going to try to be upbeat, unlike Marjorie here.
I have an upbeat question in a minute.
Cheryl, I never had a dog until, still haven't had a dog. My 2 daughters have dogs, and so I've got to spend much of my life. And I was always on the radio, cynical, when people like Marjorie and the callers would say, oh, this is my whole life, I'm a dog with this.
Yeah.
Totally, I'm not exactly the most upbeat person. And whoever
Cheryl, we're in a great place today.
No, generally not.
We're death talk.
These 2 dogs bring me such happiness.
Yeah.
And that's not talked about. I mean, if you're a pet owner, you know this. So for the 90+ million households. But for those who don't,
they're great.
What's this do for the human who is lucky enough to have a pet in their house?
Pets can provide routine, which is really good for pets. Turns out it's really good for humans, too. They provide companionship, loyalty, all the things. They help us, get out of the house if you have a dog, which is really great, especially for people that might live alone. But the companion, the support, the help that it provides to the human, with their mental and physical well-being isn't spoken about enough. And it's okay if you don't want to be a pet owner, but understanding that those pets are a part of people's family and they rely on them daily. And it's a really important
Well, they're always
point.
so happy. Let's go. Everything, tails wagging. Let's go. Let's go have an adventure. Let's get out the door. I mean, they're always thrilled to see
Get
you.
up and feed
unlike
me.
your children or your spouse.
There's the incredible health benefits that pets give all of us.
Like
what? Decrease obesity, cardiovascular health,
Decrease
mental
obesity
health.
because you're walking the thing?
100%.
Is that really true?
100%.
Yeah.
There's medical research that
Yeah.
shows there's conditions such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular, mental health. Aging in place is so important. What happens when you age in place? You become lonely, become depressed.
Yeah.
You have to, in order to have a healthy city or a healthy community, you need to provide resources for both for people and for pets. Pets have to be part of the conversation to have a healthy community.
So Marjorie once talked to you about a couple of dogs hit by buses. Now, if we can...
Do not. No, I want to ask you a question that was in the Globe today. I thought, we're going to talk about Animal Rescue League. We should do this.
Okay.
The Golden Doodle.
Okay,
The Golden
quickly,
Doodle.
because I want to get
so
back.
So this couple writes in and they say, we have a golden doodle. The husband writes in. He says, every time I get close to my wife and try to hug her, the golden doodle goes nuts, gets barking, is jumping on top of us, gets very upset.
That's because the wife trained the dog, obviously.
100%.
Isn't that the answer?
I agree with Jim, 100%.
There's some signals being
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So
and Errol has a free pet behavior helpline, which maybe that caller may want to call. And
the health
free behavior helpline.
Free
The husband may want to call us to get to the bottom
So
of
that's
this.
unusual. That doesn't always happen. That the
Unless they're
animal
trained.
will get upset.
I have two final questions.
All right.
Could you
Sorry,
summarize?
husband, but
You've
something
touched
wrong
on
with
this piece by piece here. Give us 60 seconds on the breadth of things you do at your joint there at the Animal Rescue League.
Sure.
What services do you provide?
We provide a host of resources for the community. We provide low-cost, no-cost veterinary care in communities. We have a mobile vehicle called the Wellness Wagon. We partner with ABCD, Action for Boston Community Development.
wow.
We're in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, and East Boston 1 day a week. $20 veterinary exams for your dog or cat.
Wow, that's
Doing
great.
what we can to keep pets and people together. We have a 78% increase of people surrendering their pets to us compared to last year due to cost of veterinary care.
It's horrible.
The Wellness Wagon program that I just mentioned has decreased animal surrenders from the communities I just mentioned by up to 40%. Keeping pets in families. We know the health benefits I just talked about. Healthy communities with having pets in them is really important.
So what do you say, last thing, because we're going to discuss the similar things with our listeners.
Yes, we are.
What happens when someone is told by the vet, your dog needs X or your cat needs Y? It's beyond your ability to pay. You can put it on the credit card or you cannot put it on the credit card. We had a guy, we did a story on the air from years ago when a guy spent almost $2,000 to have his goldfish's eye fixed. We thought it was a lie until we met the guy. It was $6,000. Quickly, I'm sorry, Doctor, what advice do you give to somebody? It's a little bit beyond their means, but their animal is their life. What do you say to them?
Find out what options you have. There's more than one option. Your animal is diagnosed with a particular issue, a particular disease or condition. Talk to your veterinarian about what options do you have. There may be the unlimited amount of money to spend. What is a prognosis? What are some other options? As a veterinarian, you're always having this conversation with the individual to find out what works best for that pet and that family.
It's great what you guys are doing. It's really terrific.
Also contact you guys.
They can 100% contact
Animal
us.
Rescue League. By the way, the website, arlboston.org. That, of course, stands for Animal Rescue League Boston.org. So you can call and get these answers, and you can find out that poor husband, why the golden doodle is attacking him.
He may not want to find out.
Okay. Thank you
great
so
to have you
much.
both.
This was so much fun.
It's great what you're doing.
And congratulations
Really
on your
great to
new
be here.
site. We've been speaking with the Animal Rescue League of Boston CEO, Dr. Edward Schettino, and Chief Animal Welfare Officer, Cheryl Traversi. ARL Boston animalrescueleagueboston.org. Thank you both for coming up.
Good to see you
After
both.
this break, we are going to talk about animals with you. The costs are up, but is there anything you wouldn't do to keep your furry friends safe at home with you? We already have one texter. We happen to know who that is, Jim.
We do.
Reverend Irene Monroe has texted with her answer. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listen to BPR and GBH streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. One more time, ARLBoston.org, Animal Rescue League Boston.org.
To Boston Public Radio 3 hours a day, that's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month, and 720 hours a year. Maybe it's time you pitched in. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
Oops, we're doing a pledge thing, Marjorie.
Sorry. Whoops.
Well, we're prepared like we usually are. 888-897-9424. Sorry, we're talking to the Animal Rescue League people. gbhnews.org. $10 a month or $120 all at once. You get the New York Times, all the news stuff online, which is great. And the clock is running, meaning, well, I don't mean the clock is running on this, even though the offer disappears at 7. A day and a half more pledge, and we're done. So if you're contemplating giving and you haven't, please do it now. It matters a lot to all of our colleagues. And, you know, I mentioned this. You get to hear about some of the people behind the scenes who make everything possible. Every show on the station, every show has spectacular people working to make the people who host them do what you need to provide information, education, news, humor, whatever it is. You get to support the whole kettle of fish. So 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Alice from Costa Rica says, GBH, especially Jim and Marjorie, keep me sane when I was a stay-at-home mom all through COVID, every step of the way. Since listening from Costa Rica now, thank you so much.
You ever been to Costa Rica?
No.
Beautiful. I mean, really, really beautiful.
Stacy from Arlington says, love Jim and Marjorie. I'm a military spouse who's listened to you from Andover, Mass. to Cambridge, England. Now I'm in Arlington, Virginia. A big thank you for keeping me sane during these tough times. Thank you so much for sending those lovely messages. 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy. We're streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Yes, we are actually back at the library tomorrow. A bunch of good guests. Friday at the library, not next week. Friday, this Friday, Mayor Wu joins us from noon to 1 to take our questions and yours. For the rest of the show, we're bringing you in, I guess, an extension of the conversation we just had with our two guests at 877-301-8970. They were two leaders from the Animal Rescue League of Boston about how rising costs across nearly every sector of the economy are resulting in this unfortunate development where the number of pet surrenders is up, even though they're reducing it in terms of their context. So we want to ask you, are you tightening the belt of your human family in order to keep your pet companions happy? Are you lobbying Bernie Sanders to solve the pet insurance dental exclusion, which I didn't know about till our colleague mentioned this morning? What lengths have you gone to, would you go to, in order to keep your animal companion happy and healthy? And Marjorie's obviously most important issue, would you ditch your significant other just to be with your pet? That's all she really wants to talk about.
It's a choice.
What?
If you had a choice between the spouse
and the dog.
Yeah. Which would you take? I think there are a lot of people who would say they'd go with the dog.
I would say...
Especially the golden doodle
I would
person.
put it the reverse. I would say there are at least one or two who say they would go with the spouse. That's the husband.
I'm sure that's
that.
I'm sure that's
But not many.
Very true.
877-301-8897. We started to tell the story before. Many years ago, we were on the radio at the commercial station, and there was a story, I think, in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette about some guy who spent, you're right, $6,000 to repair or have something done, surgery on the eye.
Goldfish.
It wasn't a little tiny goldfish. It was one of those.
It's a big goldfish.
Big goldfish.
But it was a goldfish.
Now, we, of course, thought that was total BS. I'll give you the short version. Until we went to Munson, Massachusetts following a tornado. And who was the first person we met?
We saw his whole house.
And what was in the basement of his house? And an inch less of water?
In the house, but the staircase that he held on to.
What was on the staircase?
A tipped a fish tank.
What was in the fish tank?
Inside the $6,000
Oh,
goldfish.
That is an honest to God true
And it was tipped
story.
in an angle of the goldfish, had enough water
guy.
to
Was
survive.
it Michael? Was that his name?
I think it was Michael.
Yeah, it was great. So he did do it.
Story.
And, you say to you, he was attached to the goldfish. It was a living thing. It meant a lot to him. He spent a lot of money. But, everybody is stressed when there's a big bill and the costs are high. As you heard, it's $1,500 plus a year for a dog, a little bit less for a cat without serious problems or accidents. And what kind of trade-offs are you willing to make and have you made? Essentially, the point of this segment is how important is your pet to you? That's really what I should have said at in your life.
We're the first texter who's admitting the truth.
What's that?
I would always choose my cat over my spouse. Paws down.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go.
Paws down, that's a good one. I thought you meant P-O-U-S-E. That was great.
No, P-A-W-S.
I got it. That's good.
Okay, let's go to John in the car. Hi, John.
Hey, John.
Hey, guys, how you doing? I'm a frequent caller. I am a supporter of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thanks a lot.
And my daughter's cat, and I say my daughter's cat because, I don't know, I end out taking care of it more than she does. But
I know the feeling.
When she got it, she was going to do all the work, and you know how it is. 41 years old, living at home. But anyway, it had a cough.
That's another topic, but go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It had a cough on Friday. So Saturday, I said, let me see if I can get an appointment. And the earliest one I could get was like a Tuesday, today at 3 o'clock. So my wife goes, well, it's got a cough, bring it in to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room up in Swansea, and that's a great place. And you felt like you were in an emergency room. And 5 hours and $1,100 later.
Oh, God.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, I was called to go pick the cat up, and it gave me some antibiotics, which I was asking if I could get something, for my anxiety, So it went on a credit card, of course, But I love the cat, and I love my animals. I got 2 dachshunds, I got 2 cats, so. Anyway,
that was
it's
fabulous.
An experience. I'm glad there was a place I could go to. I just wish, between facility fees and exams and X-rays, it's just I don't know how someone who didn't have a credit card to whip out would take care of their little cat that I love so much.
John,
Thank
that
you
was
guys for listening.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Is John gone? That was a great call. That was a great call.
Thanks,
that was a
John.
great call, John. And you're right. If you didn't have a credit card,
great.
I think that's what people do. But the Animal Rescue League has some deal, some credit card kind of thing. And if you go to that ARL.org.
Boston. No, ARL Boston.
Boston, thank you. ARLBoston.org. They can tell you.
They
Now,
provide great service. I didn't know about some of the fabulous services.
I didn't know it either.
That's fabulous.
I did not know it either. Okay, our buddy Irene Monroe is text. She said, the first year into my doctoral program at Harvard Divinity School, my dog named Heaven died. As a broke student, I spent my entire Ford Foundation grant on her vet bill at Angel Animal Medical Center. Long story short, Heaven died, but I had no regrets. I would never have forgiven myself if I had not done everything to get her well. And soon after, she got a rescue dog, Mr. Midnight, who helped rescue her from her grief. That's always the big question.
Great, yeah.
After you have a dog die, people always ask you, going to get another one? Going to get
I'm
another one?
not going to ask you, but you haven't gotten a dog since Harry the Pig. That's not from C to C.
I have not, because my daughter has a dog.
Oh, so it's sort of like secondhand
and the dog
dogdom.
spends so much time at my house that if I had a second dog, sometimes the dogs don't get along. You can have that situation where you have 2 dogs and then it's hell on wheels. So that's why I don't have a dog. Also, I think at dogs, there's a lot of planning. You just can't go anywhere.
Here is Kathleen in Grafton. This one's for you. When my ex-husband moved out 13 years ago, my kids begged for a cat. We now have 2 cats. Best decision, capital letters, ever. I don't know if she means the cat or the husband or both.
Listen to this. Brian from Rhode Island, I paid $12,000 for my dog to get better. My family assured me that they would never pay that amount for me. Wow.
But can you imagine? The decisions, the stories that we read in anticipation of having the Animal Rescue League people here about people who are really struggling financially. They're pet is a huge thing to them.
Or they have
and the notion of having to surrender it because of inflation, or a landlord that won't let you have a damn cat or a dog in your house.
Well, exactly. A lot of these people get evicted or had to move out of where they were for whatever reason. Then the places that they were eligible and they could afford to get into would not allow animals like pit bulls, Jim, which I believe you wanted to ban. Okay.
We're not going to get into the pit bull. Someday we'll return to the whole pit bull.
Well, there was a spate of pit bull attacks a few years ago. Melissa from Marlborough, thank you for calling.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you guys?
We're good. Thank you for calling.
So over the summer, we have a 15-year-old dog that is she's joy embodied. She really is. She's a lovely girl. And over the summer, all of a sudden, randomly, she had, I'm sorry for people who were eating lunch, but she was vomiting blood and had bloody diarrhea, like a ton, like a lot. And she was dehydrated. So my husband brought her to Tufts over in Grafton. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks at Tufts. And long story short, we ended up spending $17,000.
Oh my God.
On getting her taken care of. And the thing is like, we both have trouble deciding the end of the life of a being. So that's a tough thing to decide anyway. But my husband, who generally doesn't emote one way or the other, was sobbing, just absolutely sobbing. Yeah, about all of this. So,
Melissa, can I ask you a question I've never asked a listener before? So I know it's only in the context of what you are. You well off, you two of you, or no?
No, not really. I mean,
so 17 grand was a huge thing.
Yeah, definitely it was. It was a huge thing. And like Eileen, we don't, or Irene, excuse me.
Yeah.
We don't regret it. We don't regret it.
That was my next question.
We dipped into retirement because of, we're not going to retire anyway. We're not going to be able to retire. So we just kind of dipped into our retirement, and she's good now. She's good. And she's, I mean, like 98% better. I mean, she's an old girl anyway, but she's good.
I love that you don't regret it. That was a great call too. Melissa, thank you so much.
Oh, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to for a pledge, and then we're going to be right back with more of your pet stories, including one person who said, well, I'll tell you when we get back. It's a good one.
It's time to support Boston Public Radio on GBH. Listener contributions pay for the program and keep it on the air. You don't have to give much to make a difference, but please make a difference by giving now at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424.
That number again, 888-897-9424 or gbhnews.org. David from Halifax says, I feel I need to support public radio and public television because of the defunding. Cynthia from Eastham says, both the sane and inane conversations between Jim and Marjorie are the best. So sane and inane. I guess we do have a lot of inane conversations. Yeah. Okay. Michelle from Falmouth says, Jim and Marjorie have become a part of my day as much as my coffee, which is very important necessity. They really are incredible. This is really nice. Yeah, I know. I always feel really good during these pledge breaks because people say nice things. I suppose they wouldn't send you texts to say nasty things, would they? They wouldn't do that.
They do.
On here.
Well, no, not when they're making a contribution. No, but every day we
do get a lot of nasty.
I get a few more than you do.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of nasty texts. That's true. A lot of moron texts and that kind of stuff.
What'd you say?
Moron.
Oh, really? You never use that word.
Well, we get them.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, we get them.
In other words, in any case, the number is 888-897-9424 at gbhnews.org. Second to last day of the fall pledge, so this is the opportunity to do it if you're contemplating doing it and you haven't yet. $10 a month, you receive an annual online subscription of the time for all the news stuff, not the games, etc., but all the great news, breaking news, reviews, opinion blogs, and videos. If that suits your fancy, great. And as I said, I think earlier in the show, it's also a wonderful gift to give to a young person who should be dependent upon facts.
Yeah, who's getting their news from TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah, so that's a great thing for a kid or a grandkid or a nephew or something, niece. I mean, just it's a great gift. So do it, and it really helps our colleagues on the air and off the air survive here because, as you obviously know, the feds eliminated all funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds PBS and NPR. And today we just had two examples. We had Christopher Kimball from Milk Street and Michael Kirk from the great Frontline. I mean, somebody's got to pay for that.
Yeah, Christopher Kimball's show is on every Sunday afternoon, and the Frontline thing
is arguably the best documentary thing in America.
The depth of the reporting they do, it's just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's really brilliant about RFK Jr.
So what's the number again?
888-897-9424, gbhnews.org. We rely entirely now, no government funding, on your generosity. And, we think this is a pretty good organization here, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whatever you can give, we really appreciate it. 888-897-9424, gbhnews.org.
Welcome back to BPR, Margery Eagan, Jim Browdy. We're talking about pets and you. How far would you go to keep your furry companion healthy and happy? And if you had to dump your partner so you could afford to take care of your pet, would you do it? The response to that one overwhelmingly is yes.
The partner would have to go. Yeah, the partner would have to go. So this is a great movie, Best in Show.
One of our favorites.
Have a little laughs here. Play a moment when Fred Willard, who's no longer with us, but he's great. He plays the dog announcer. Yeah,
he's horrible.
At the I think it's supposed to be the Best in Show at Madison Square Gardens at Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's a dog
anyway,
show.
And they all get dressed up in their gowns and their tuxedos. So here he is as the dog announcer in Best in Show, learning more about how the judges decide whom should win Best in Show.
She is really giving him a thorough going over. Are all judges that thorough? I mean, she looks at the teeth.
It's very important that all the attributes are examined. Teeth, eyes, ears, gums.
Am I seeing right? Where's she putting her hands now?
She's just checking out the dog's testicular area to make sure that everything is intact.
Hate to go out on a date with Judge Edie Franklin, have her judge me. That'd be no fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that is one of the funniest scenes.
If you have not seen that movie,
ever.
The movie is a riot. You should really check it out. Now, listen to this. We had a sweet bagel who got into some Advil. Long story, rushed her to the vet specialist in Bowen. She spent a week in the ICU. They did everything they could to save her life. It cost $12,000. But we had 9 more years with this beagle, and we were able to pay. Others could not. We believe it is probably a rare thing that vets are given the freedom to do what needs to be done to save a pet.
Listen to this. Anonymous. I think a person's ability to care for animals is a reflection on their character. When I got divorced, I took the 2 family cats, asked my ex-husband if he wanted one of them. He said no, and further explained that if he had to take them, he'd put them down. That comment affirmed my decision to divorce him. Well, in light of the fact, as that person says, the reflection on a person's character, I'll leave that part at this. There are only 3 presidents in American history who've not had a pet in the White House, which we think reflects on their character. And
yes.
You decide, figure out who they are.
Yeah,
the other 2 were Andrew Johnson
we
and Polk, and we know who the third one is. And
okay.
That's all you need to know.
Apparently, Trump doesn't like dogs.
He doesn't?
Well, who doesn't like dogs?
He doesn't like humans that much either. Ellen in a truck, you are next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, horseback riding job lady.
Oh, hi.
How you doing?
Nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you,
What's
Ellen.
going on?
Yeah, my animals, I have to say, have kept me in the poorhouse most of my life. But with horses, you learn to be your own vet. So you learn to do a lot of your own, you give shots, give dewormer, you have to be kind of your own vet because it is so expensive. But I birthed one. She was 25 when she passed.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. She was the younger. I had a 30-year-old. He went probably maybe from a nerve thing. Could have been Lyme disease. It was, it was sudden. He was 30, though. And then my 33-year-old little pony, I rescued him from the killers. He was about to go down the dog food chute, and was a beautiful little black pony. He was only 2. They didn't know what to do with him. These people bought him at a place in Dover, on the edge of Dover, in Needham, and they had know what to. He was a little stud pony. They didn't know what to do. I said, "You fix him, and I'll pay you $300." And they thought that was like, ha ha ha. We only paid $60. He ended up looking 6 months later like an A-rated show pony, and he did in rated shows. That's how good he was.
That's pretty good. Boy, listen to the joy in Ellen's voice.
Good groceries and good care and good deworming. That's really important. And right now I'm looking at my little corgi. She's what I have now, and she's young, so she doesn't need a lot of veterinary care. But let me tell you, I have a little fund set aside for her because she was a rescue rehome. And my little Annie, she's adorable, and she is a service dog now for me and helps me with a condition I have.
Hey, Ellen, we got to go. That was great.
That was a great
Good for
call.
you, too.
Horses live a very long time.
They do?
Yeah.
Betsy in Nashua says, my dog ate one of our Christmas toys. Surgery and hospital stay in Woburn cost me $11,000. Merry Christmas to me.
Michelle in Wilbraham, there were only 2 times in my life I saw my father cry: when my mother had a stroke and when we had to put our 11-year-old boxer down. He sobbed uncontrollably.
Totally understand that.
We're done.
Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Why do you act so surprised?
I don't know. It snuck up on me.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry we didn't get to the rest of the texts and calls, but I think the bottom line is, Jim,
whatever it takes
to take care of that little dog or that little cat.
Dump the husband.
I get it.
That's the other part.
That's right. Dump the husband. Sorry, Jim.
Okay,
days
good.
could be numbered.
Thanks.
Welcome. Oh, that's the wrong page.
Yep.
Thank you very much for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Keep up with us 24/7 by way of our podcast, or check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio. Tomorrow, finally, we're back at the Boston Public Library. No tickets or RSVP needed. Just show up and stay as long as you like. Going to be joined by the Culture Show's Jared Bowen, Harvard National Security expert Juliette Kayyem, NBC Sports Boston's Trenni Casey, and naturalist Sy Montgomery. We want to thank our great crew: Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss. Brad Lewis ran our YouTube stream today. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. Stay tuned to the Culture Show with Jared Bowen, which starts immediately after us, right here on GBH.
You like beets? I'm eating beets. I haven't eaten
like
beets my whole life. All
I
of
had
a sudden, I'm into beets.
experience with beets.
What happened?
I told you, when I was in college, I went away for the weekend to the ashram. All we ate was beets for 3 days.
That's a problem.
Beet tea, beet salad dressing.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, it was a problem.
Well, I have limited exposure late in life. This is really quite good, actually.
Well, that's
really good.
That's great.
Okay. I know it's not really what we're talking about.
Jim likes beets.
I like them on a limited basis.
I'm Marjorie.
I'm Jim Browder.
I don't care.
Okay,
exactly.
Well, you don't. I do. So that's the difference.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you can tune in tomorrow. If you're in the library, I hope you can stop by and say hello. This is Boston Public Radio. Have a great day.
Bye.
Boston Public Radio today was made possible by our listener contributors and local businesses. And that support is the only way to keep Boston Public Radio on the radio. So please do your part by giving in on this next to last day of our fall membership drive online at gbhnews.org or by calling 888-897-9424. I'm Maeve Buckley, and I'm joined by Melissa Jones.
The goal right now is 14 contributions in the next 7 minutes. We look for the financial support of everyone who relies on GBH to keep this important service on the air and available to all. GBH has been your source for credible news, and your contribution now will help keep it that way. Listener contributions empower us to investigate, verify, and report the truth, which is important now more than ever. Please give now to help meet that goal of 14 contributions in the next 7 minutes. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424.
And the federal funding we used to get was a small percentage of our operating budget. It was just enough to help us serve a broad range of listeners, but not so much that losing it would make us go entirely silent. We don't want our service to be diminished because of these federal funding cuts. So we are asking you to please help us begin replacing those dollars by becoming a sustaining member now. If you've already done so, thank you so much for your support. It means so much, and it helps us get recover so much of this. If you have yet to give, now is the perfect time to do so. 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
When you give $10 a month as a sustainer right now, we can thank you with the annual online subscription to the New York Times. That's $10 a month or $120 all at once. This is your unlimited, anytime, anywhere access to all of the New York Times news content. Your subscription can be accessed on any smartphone, tablet, web browser, and when you change devices, you stay logged in. That is a fantastic feature of the subscription. And this is your last chance to give during BPR and get this fantastic opportunity. $10 a month or $120 at once for that 1-year online subscription to the Times. gbhnews.org or 888-897-9424. Do it before 7 o'clock tonight.
Thank you so much. Again, if you've made that gift of support, we're down to just 11 more people we're looking to hear from in the next about 5 minutes, here in the last 5 minutes of Boston Public Radio today. Again, this is the next to last day of our fall membership drive. So hitting these goals, so critical to keep us on track to finishing this drive strong. It's been going great, but if you have yet to give, now is a fantastic time to help us reach our goal here. Again, 11 more people we're looking to hear from in the next 5 minutes. Call 888-897-9424 or give online at gbhnews.org.
We've got some great people who are calling in and going online to give right now. And big thank yous to a friend in Westwood who said superb programming, both news and entertainment. Public TV, such as GBH, is vital for a democratic society.